What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
8 et. Chapter 139 Impel down prisoners are dumbfounded. Garp grabbed the sea. Advertisement. After getting the air cannon, Kizaru took the initiative and went to trouble Whitebeard. An air cannon hit Marco, who was going to defend Whitebeard against the air cannon, and he was on the verge of death. Fortunately, Whitebeard still got the last fairy bean in the black market, which saved Marco's life. On Monk's side, he was attacked by three strong men from the old era. Red Earl, Bullet, and Burndy, the three old-time powerhouses, after seeing the air cannon, a magical item with exaggerated power, became more eager for Monk and magical items. They want to get Monk and ask him to catch magical items for themselves and other mermaids. The attack on Monk by three strong men from the old era is definitely not something that can be taken lightly. No matter how strong Monk's Conqueror's Haki is, it is still dangerous to face three strong men from the old era at the same time. Although Momosuke said that his strength has improved a lot and he has become a real admiral candidate, it is basically impossible to face the three strong players from the old era. Not to mention Hina's side, her strength is far from reaching the level of high-end combat power. Monk himself was not lying at all when he faced the coming attack of the three old era powerhouses. One is that he has enough strength, and the other is that Marine will definitely not sit back and watch them have an accident. He just needs to continue doing his own fishing. At present, there are still two god-level fishing left, and we will deal with the battlefield after fishing first. At this moment, a figure roared over. Bullet, master who wants to get close to me, have you asked the captain if I am? Roger got rid of Golden Lion's electric light pill and directly slashed at Bullet with the 1947 knife. The saber energy was wanton, causing Bullet to be in danger. He stopped quickly, and punched the attack. After a loud bang, Bullet was shocked by the force of the saber energy and retreated again and again. After he stabilized his figure, he looked at Roger in surprise. What surprised Bullet was not Roger's attack, but Roger's address to Monk, Master. Roger, what's your situation? Bullet's pupils widened, staring straight at Roger. He is actually a bit similar to Golden Lion. The main reason why Bullet boarded Roger's ship was to defeat this strong man. But until Roger turned himself in, he still couldn't defeat Roger, and Roger's death made Bullet lose his target for a while. Afterwards, Taihui made a huge battle, which triggered Marine to directly use Buster Call, and finally sent Bullet to the submarine prison. But now his goal is to call another person his master, and the other person is still a brat with no hair yet. How did this get Bullet to take it? The two old era powerhouses were also very surprised. As the One Piece, Roger is undoubtedly the object that people admired or wanted to surpass in the previous era. And so were Burndy and the Red Earl. As a lone wolf, the Red Earl was said by the people of that era to be comparable to the Golden Lion pirates and the Whitebeard pirates, and he wanted to reach the top of the pirates by himself. It's a pity that it was finally won by the former Marine Marshal Kong and sent to impel down. Roger, are you making us happy again? The Red Earl frowned. The former One Piece, but now he calls someone else his master. It's a bit ridiculous. Burndy laughed. Blackbeard was a little taken aback, his eyes flickered. He thought more about it. If Roger voluntarily recognized Monk as his master, he would absolutely not believe it. The only thing that could be explained was that the reason why Roger would call Monk his master must be caused by the magical item. It can also be seen from Roger's resurrection. Thinking about it, Blackbeard was both horrified and excited. The shocking thing is that Monk has a magical item that can dominate other people, even Roger, the Pirate King, can control it. The excited thing is that if he can get the magical item that can dominate others, it will definitely benefit his Blackbeard pirates. Known for his insidiousness, Blackbeard has recruited so many ambitious prisoners, so he naturally understands that a pirate group like himself is too unstable. It can be said that Blackbeard trusts only the original people. The reason why Blackbeard chooses this path is because these people are powerful and can quickly form a powerful pirate group. And now Blackbeard seems to have found a better solution. Crocodile, Luffy, Jinbei, Ivan, Buggy. These people all dropped their jaws when they heard the dignified One Piece call Monk his master. Lord, Master. Luffy's voice was almost trembling. How did the Age of Discovery come about? It's not because of Roger's words, it's not because of Roger's admiration, it's not because of advertisement. How many people's beliefs have been directly collapsed by Roger's call of master? Buggy couldn't believe that Roger in front of him was the captain he knew. No. He's not Captain Roger. Even if Captain Roger dies, he will not be inferior to others. However, that familiar face and familiar smile all tell Buggy that this is Roger, his former captain. Buggy was about to cry, but he still insisted on the live broadcast. With a roar, the Golden Lion swept over again. You still dare to keep talking nonsense, Roger, you'd better die. Golden Lion is really angry. Even if he loses to Roger holding the lightning pill, he still wants to fight Roger. Roger was once again forced to fight the Golden Lion. On Bullet's side, his expression was a bit ugly, but he was different from Golden Lion. He didn't care which side Roger was on or what he chose, as long as he could defeat Roger. But the most important thing right now is to take down Monk first. Bullet attacked Monk again, but another figure stood in front of him. He ran as a blazing angel, ant. On the other side, Hawkeye actually took the initiative to join the battlefield, stopping Burndy one by one. One knife made Burndy have to avoid the edge temporarily. Brother Ming in the distance was a little surprised, he couldn't help laughing and said, Hawkeye, I didn't expect you to take the initiative to do so. Hawkeye didn't talk too much nonsense, and said indifferently, I just want to see if my knife is considered top-notch in the old days. Burndi, the Momo Fruit ability user, Devil Fruit ability can be called bug level. Not only can it increase its own speed, but it can also improve its own attacks, including weapons. Monk is very interested in touching the fruit. If it weren't for Luffy being able to defeat such a bug, demon fruit power in the movie version. He is very curious about how powerful Burndi's Momo Fruit is. However, the reason why Monk is very concerned about Momo Fruit is because of one of his ideas. That is, since the Momo Fruit can increase the attack power of anything, can it also increase the props of Myriad Realms? For example, the air cannon I just fished, and the lightning pill, these. If it can be done, then the Momo Fruit ability can be called terrifying. Monk inexplicably looked forward to it. Burndi sneered. An unknown person, dare to shout in front of me. In the era when Burndi was active, Hawkeye was not well known, so Burndi didn't even know who Hawkeye was. He directly picked up the gun dropped by someone on the ground, and then fired a bullet at Hawkeye, strengthened the attack by 100 times. The moment the bullet popped out of the chamber, it immediately became huge, and it was thrown towards Hawkeye. Night Curtain, Shadowless. Facing Burndi's attack, Hawkeye's expression didn't change at all. Using his own moves, he chopped the huge bullet into countless pieces and exploded in the air while the figure was difficult to capture. Burndi was stopped by Hawkeye. On the Red Earl's side, Garp, who had been watching the show on the execution platform, finally made a move. Originally, he didn't want to fight this battle, and Sengoku didn't arrange for him to fight. But now when it comes to Monk, he still made a move, and he directly used the Nika form as soon as he made a move. Garp stepped directly into the air from the execution platform, as if there was a path in the air for him to run fast. Meanwhile Garp had a smile on his face, absolute joy, and nonsense. Under the dumbfounded eyes of people who have never seen Nika's form, Garp ran from the air to the Red Earl. The Red Earl was stunned when he saw it. What kind of devil fruit ability is this? He has been adventuring in the sea for many years, and has never seen such devil fruit. Garp didn't talk too much with him, and said with an ultimate smile, Red Earl, Lousy advises you to get out of here quickly, you are still 100 years too early if you want to make me a grandson. 0 inches. Luffy was shocked when he saw his grandfather's devil fruit ability. Grandpa, you have become a landlubber too. Advertisement. At the same time, what shocked him was that Monk was actually the grandson of his grandfather. Doesn't that mean Monk is my brother? Monk is also Ace's brother. Luffy suddenly looked excited, and said to Monk, Monk, come with me to save Ace. Monk, who was fishing, almost choked on his own saliva. He had to admire Luffy's brain circuit and this jumping off character. In the words of normal people, how did such a person grow up? Monk coughed and ignored Luffy. Garp ignored Luffy. To be honest, deep down in his heart, he really hoped that Ace could be rescued, but how could such a thing be said? With an ultimate smile, Garp turned the sadness in his heart into combat power, laughed and punched the Red Earl. The Red Earl squinted his eyes, and immediately jumped up, wanting to open it directly. However, Garp's big head appeared, and the huge head stared at the Red Earl with a smile. Then he opened his mouth wide to eat the Red Earl. The Red Earl's heart skipped a beat. He was not frightened by the attack, but by the way of the attack. What kind of attack method is this? Is it too outrageous? The Red Earl didn't hesitate to use his observation Haki directly to seize the opportunity and still avoided Garp's attack. Unlike Katakuri and other observation Haki who can predict the future after reaching ultimate, Red Earl's observation Haki allows him to easily see through the hearts of others, which is the so-called mind-reading technique. Doesn't want to be mind-read except by the mighty Conqueror's Haki. Garp has Conqueror's Haki, but he didn't get it for too long, and he didn't practice much, so some of his ideas can still be read by the Red Earl. This devil fruit is also fished by Monk. The Red Earl frowned slightly. In the next second, Garp's attack struck again, this time with a huge grimace, making the Red Earl stunned. And during this moment of stupefaction, Garp's punch directly pierced the Red Earl's abdomen, hammering him into the shape of a shrimp. However, instead of spitting out blood, he spit out saliva. The Red Earl's pupil quakes, watching himself being penetrated. His abdomen tightened involuntarily. However, when Garp withdrew his fist, he realized that his abdomen was not seriously injured, as if it was a hallucination just now. Such bizarre attack methods and moves refreshed the perception of the people present. For this nonsensical devil fruit with 3.7 strength, people who have never seen it are all stunned. In the crowd, Luffy directly turned into star-eyed, Grandpa. Your devil fruit ability is so cool. For such a battle, Luffy is undoubtedly very envious, but he doesn't know that his rubber fruit is actually the form of the fruit of everyone, Nika. The Red Earl and Garp fought one after another, and in the nonsensical attacks again and again, the Red Earl was hit continuously. It's not that the Red Earl has become weaker, but that Garp's attack is really nonsensical and has no tricks at all. Even if the Red Earl uses mind reading, it won't work, because Garp has only one thought in his mind, and that is, play. It's outrageous. Okay. The Red Earl was utterly aggrieved by the beating. Naturally, he wanted to attack Garp too, but the opponent looked as if nothing had happened. This made the Red Earl more and more annoyed, and finally used a trick to drag Garp into the bottom of the sea. He doesn't have devil fruit ability at present, as long as Garp falls into the sea, then he will win. After a lot of fighting, the Red Earl finally found the opportunity to forcefully take Garp's attack, and immediately hugged Garp directly, and then jumped into the bottom of the sea together. The Red Earl jumped out from the bottom of the sea, with a victor smile on his face. However, the Red Earl's smile soon froze. Not only him, but also the prisoners who had just come out of the 6th floor of the submarine prison all froze and looked shocked. I saw that Garp fell into the bottom of the sea. Not only did nothing happen, but he even grabbed a piece of sea directly. That's right. Grab a piece of the ocean. The Red Earl dropped his jaw in shock. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Advertisement. Chapter 140 The birth of the first Honkai Force collision in 800 years. Advertisement. The Red Earl was extremely surprised. The Garp in front of him is actually grabbing an ocean. Originally, he wanted to send Garp into the sea, just to take advantage of Devil Fruit's fear of the sea. The Red Earl himself doesn't have the ability of Devil Fruit, so he is not afraid of the sea, but now Garp has grabbed a piece of sea directly and jumped out from the bottom of the sea, as if nothing happened. The Red Earl only felt that this scene was incomparably horrifying and weird. What exactly is going on? But now the Red Earl had no time to think, because the huge sea was grabbed by Garp like a huge leather rope, and then fell towards him. The expression on the face of the Red Earl turned cold, and he let out a snarl, using his own powerful dominance to blast away the sea that Garp threw down. Crash. After the huge sea pillar was blown away, the whole sea seemed to be raining, and countless water droplets fell in all directions. Ha ha ha. Garp laughed loudly in the air as if he could stand in the air. And below, the prisoners from Impel Down were all extremely astonished. Bullet, Burndy and others got rid of the entanglement and stopped to look at Garp above the sky. Why isn't Garp afraid of seawater? Burndy was so surprised that he couldn't understand what was happening in front of him. Garp is already a demon fruit power. Logically speaking, it shouldn't be afraid of seawater. Is it because of his devil fruit ability? Bullet narrowed his eyes. Now this is the only explanation that makes sense to them. Similar to Aokiji's ice fruit ability, as long as the seawater is frozen, Aokiji will not be affected by the sea. And Akainu's lava fruit can also release a large amount of magma, so that it does not come into contact with seawater, so it will not be affected by the sea. In the eyes of everyone, Garp is most likely due to the awakening of devil fruit, so that he has no contact with seawater, so he will not be affected by seawater. However, at this time, Kaido said in a low voice, No, it's not because devil fruit's ability affects seawater. Kaido's words made many people in the submarine prison Impel Down look at Kaido. Crocodile, Ivan, Luffy. These people who don't know are waiting for Kaido's answer. I only heard Kaido say word by word. That's because Monk's magical item can eliminate the side effects of devil fruit. Not only that, but also the devil fruit ability derived from Monk's fishing ability, which does not have the same side effects as the original devil fruit ability. That is to say, they are not afraid of seawater, nor sea stone. I even witnessed Garp swimming in the sea. As soon as this remark came out, the prisoners in Impel Down collectively froze. The monstrous waves in my heart couldn't stop at all. A devil fruit ability with no side effects, which... Everyone looked into the distance together, looking at the young man who was calm under such circumstances. How many incomprehensible things can this guy's devil fruit ability create? These people are really shocked. After coming out of the submarine prison, they feel that the worldview is being refreshed all the time, and the world has become different. So handsome. Only Luffy, a guy with a clear mind and a single mind, felt excited and had fun. Own is really cool. But soon Luffy came back to his senses. Now the main purpose is to rescue Ace, must rescue Ace. Ace. Luffy slammed into it, and shouted at the execution platform from a distance. The eyes of the audience could not help but be attracted to him. Quite a few Marine generals recognized him as the Straw Hat Kid, one of the worst times when East Blue had a lot of trouble. But now that there are countless powerful people on the battlefield, Luffy has not attracted much attention at all. In the eyes of everyone, he is still a little brat who can't stand on the stage. Monk, who was fishing, glanced at Luffy who shouted Ace, and felt that if he revealed Luffy's identity now, it would be a descendant of a dragon, which would definitely make the audience miserable. But looking at Garp who was helping him in the fight, Monk finally restrained his gaze. At the beginning Garp wanted to ask himself if there was a way to save Ace, but he didn't say so, so this time, it's better not to reveal Luffy's identity, it's his benefit. Luffy's charge is the signal to rekindle the battle, and the battle of the whole field is once again on the verge of breaking out. Advertisement. Today's Marine is very difficult to face the Four Emperors group, plus many strong players from the old era. To be honest, if it weren't for the magical items of Monk and the support of Shondo, Marine would have been completely defeated now. After all, the strong people present are enough to overturn the whole world. But after this round of battles, no matter how well Marine prepared, there are not many consumable magical items left. The addition of Beast's pirates, Big Mom pirates, and the 6th floor prisoners of the submarine prison accelerated the disintegration of Crescent Bay Marine soldiers. And because of the addition of external forces, the forces of the Red Hair pirates and Whitebeard pirates were able to break out from Crescent Bay to the vicinity of the square. Originally, Crescent Bay was blocked by a huge wall, which was a plan to surround the wall, but Oz's sudden attack led to a gap. Pirates can directly enter the square. On the execution platform, Sengoku looked at the current situation on the field. The Marine soldiers began to drop sharply, faster than ever before. As the consumable magical items run out, the pirates' power begins to manifest. This is not to say that Marine spent a huge amount of money to extract magical items this time. On the contrary, the moment when all the 4 emperors appeared and Marine was able to split 50-50 already proved how much the magical items improved Marine. It's just that there were too many accidents, and if it wasn't for the fact that Monk fished out magical items that could help, I'm afraid Marine would collapse even faster. On Kizaru's side, he didn't dare to use his air cannon at will, because he didn't have many celestial beams. The strong man is left blank. One person can't resist the air cannon, 2 people can still resist the air cannon together, and the consumption of the air cannon is really a bit huge. On Akainu's side, he began to give up restraining the strong, and relied on his terrifying strength to kill the pirates. Only in this way can Marine regain its advantage. However, he didn't want to get entangled with the strong man, but the strong man came to him. Kaido, Big Mom, and Judge began to surround Akainu. The target is the magical item on him. Kaido is not as proud as before. In the past, he would only enjoy the pleasure of being beaten by many people to trouble him, but now Akainu is already stronger than him. Akainu, I advise you to obediently hand over the magical item. Hehehehe. Kaido directly took out his strongest half-orc form. On the ant's side, Napoleon, Prometheus, and Zeus all fit together, making her look like a witch. As for Judge, his combat uniform is also a force that should not be underestimated. Akainu looked at the 3 of them indifferently, not talking nonsense at all. As soon as he had a thought, the random door appeared in front of him in an instant. This is the convenience brought by the high-grade universal capsule. Akainu directly opens any door. Kaido sneered. Want to run. However, he saw the scene where Akainu opened any door and he ran his back. Kaido's pupils shrank suddenly, and he quickly turned his head to protect his back. However, Akainu quickly closed the door and opened it again, bursting out in an instant, now that he was in front of Kaido. This is the strategic value of magical items. Kaido, I've seen you upset for a long time. Akainu used the advanced sword technique given to him by the electric light pill, combined with the magma ability and the entanglement of Conqueror's Haki. Red Lotus breaks the dragon. The lightning pill turned into a red knife, with black thunder wrapped around its body. Kaido reacted as soon as he realized that he had been fooled, but it was too late. Because there is no such thing as distance in the arrival of any door, it arrives instantly. But at the moment when the sword was about to slash towards Kaido, Big Mom blocked Akainu's attack, and the 2 swords formed an air strike in the air. Black thunder swept around. The ant gritted her teeth tightly, and Napoleon, who was burning with flames in her hand, grinned in pain. Mom, it hurts so much. Akainu also gets a boost for Conqueror's Haki in this one battle. Now I am afraid that without the help of magical items, the strength is also above the 4 emperors. Of course, the strength above the 4 emperors is completely different from killing the 4 emperors. Only after the 2 sides fight to the death and fight for a long time, can Akainu completely kill a 4 emperor. Emperors. Apparently others won't give Akainu a chance. Jong-sensei Inaraku. Kaido's roar pierced the top of Akainu's head, and the mace in his hand waved out a whistling hurricane, and the power was constantly increasing. When the power was terrifying enough, the mace in Kaido's hand, that is, the 8 fastings, pierced through the void and smashed down. The terrifying power made Akainu feel a sense of crisis. Using the bamboo dragonfly, he avoided it, but a long knife on the side slashed over, directly into Akainu's abdomen. Fortunately, Akainu elementalized ahead of time, but this meal stopped him from avoiding it, and Kaido slammed down with a terrifying attack. Akainu spat out blood, and fell heavily to the ground, causing the ice to explode. Advertisement. Kaido, Big Mom, the 2 4 emperors and Judge wounded Akainu once, and Marine's first lightning pill and bamboo dragonfly fell into the hands of pirates. Within a few seconds, magma rushed out from the shattered ice, and the expression on Yan's face was gloomy. Everywhere on the battlefield, most of the top Marines are 1 to 2, or even multi-person, and the balance of victory begins to tilt toward the pirates. In live broadcast rooms all over the world, the people watching this battle fell silent. Today's battlefield is extremely tragic, because ordinary people like them can't accept it. Originally, Marine's live broadcast was cut off, but now Buggy's live broadcast. The cruelty and tragedy of the battlefield, presented in front of everyone. Marine is about to lose. On screen, Sengoku on the execution platform can't bear it anymore. He is the first Marine now, but he can't leave the execution platform, otherwise Ace will be unguarded. With a sullen face, he finally made a decision, that is to execute Ace early. Ace's execution is now in progress. Sengoku's voice resounded throughout the room, and as he spoke, the executioner was ready. Below, Rayleigh also rushed over. Marco, Ben Beckman and others looked at each other, and they decided to give it a go. And at this 200th moment, Whitebeard's voice sounded. Rayleigh, you go help the redhead deal with Kizaru. Although Kizaru said to use less air cannons now, just in case, 2 people should deal with him together. And after Whitebeard finished speaking, he jumped up and went straight to the execution platform. During the period, Zephyr was blocked by several captains of the Whitebeard pirates, Joes, Foil, Yizang, and other captains, plus Usopp's support from time to time, although now. Zephyr is not something they can deal with together, but there is no problem with delay. Whitebeard came under the execution platform, jumped up, and jumped directly to the execution platform. Shock Fist. Shock Fruit's halo appeared, and the void around the fist began to tremble. On the execution platform, Sengoku looked coldly. Whitebeard. Court Death. A halo also appeared above Sengoku's fist. House. He didn't use the Buddha form, because Sengoku was afraid that the execution platform would not hold up, so he only used the shock fruit ability. Hit from the air. Another air attack. This time the air attack was accompanied by the tearing of the void, shattering like a mirror. The collision of the broken force caused the entire Marineford to tremble violently. The ground, naval headquarters, and the water surface of Crescent Bay all began to crack. A scene that almost everyone in the world thought was impossible to see happened. Shock fruit versus waves. The eyelids of the prisoners who had just come out of impel down twitched violently. Although they had heard what Jinbei said before, what they saw with their own eyes was completely different. That feeling of shock is real. The collision of two Honkai forces is the first time in 800 years, right? And in order to save Ace, the others didn't stop at all. Marco immediately turned into a phoenix form and went straight to the execution platform, bypassing Sengoku and knocking the two executioners into the air. Ace. Marco was ecstatic in his heart, he was close at hand. Sengoku's eyes flashed coldly, and he raised his hand to use the shock wave at Marco. Marco was sent flying, but an unexpected person appeared here. Luffy didn't know when he was on the execution platform. Taking advantage of this gap, he resisted Ace. Rayleigh's eyes lit up immediately. Luffy, bring Ace to me. Sengoku saw all this from the corner of his eye, and the anger on his face was already uncontrollable. Immediately, golden light began to appear all over his body, and at the same time, his whole body began to grow huge. The nails on the execution platform began to emit compassion, and shot out after being squeezed. Sengoku uses the Great Buddha form. Advertisement. Chapter 141 Marine carries ahead. Advertisement. Sengoku desperately used Buddha form after seeing Luffy pick up Ace. The execution platform also began to crumble inch by inch as Sengoku used the Buddha form. The dazzling golden light shone on the audience, and a huge angry-eyed Vajra appeared in front of everyone. Human fruit Great Buddha form. The marshal is about to go crazy. Sengoku was huge on the execution platform. Straw Hat Luffy, I really admire your courage. Sengoku's voice was extremely cold, almost from between his teeth. He raised his huge, golden palm and pointed it at Ace and Luffy, knowing that there was a halo of light appearing on the palm. Shock fruit plus Buddha form. The wrath of the Buddha. Sengoku glared, palms down on Luffy and Ace. Ace is now restrained by Seastone, and if he gets hit, he will die. Startled, Luffy quickly bit her thumb and said loudly, third gear. He blows on his thumb, his body puffs up like a balloon, planning to use this one to counter Sengoku's attack. And at this moment, Whitebeard's figure appeared again. Sengoku, your opponent is me. Whitebeard's figure stood in front of Luffy and the others, followed by a big knife in his hand. The arm began to exert strength, and then the muscles began to explode, and the blue veins also began to appear, and they squirmed and tightened to ultimate. Sengoku's palm had already fallen, and the surrounding air seemed to be compressed, making a humming sound. Whitebeard yelled, and slashed down at Sengoku with the charged sword. With the shock wave of the Buddha and the power of shock fruit, cracks appeared in the entire void on the execution platform, and the execution platform collapsed at an accelerated rate, and the 10 DD steel bars began to be torn apart. The execution block collapsed. As it collapses comes Whitebeard's attack, devoured by Sengoku's big Buddha blast and the force of the Haki. Rayleigh hurried over to catch Ace and Luffy who had been shaken. Although Whitebeard helped to resist, the aftermath still hurt them. Luffy's figure has become miniature, with his tongue sticking out as if he had been hollowed out. Rayleigh didn't talk nonsense, and immediately took the two of them away, and went to a safe place to unlock them again. On the other side, Sengoku's gigantic glaring King Kong still stands, and his palm directly drove Whitebeard into the ground. The force of Honkai immediately caused the huge deep pit to overflow in all directions, and a huge crack tore open, splitting the entire square. No. It should have divided the entire Marineford into two halves. Monk looked up at the scene in the square and couldn't help feeling, tisk tisk tisk. If Sengoku's attack in the original timeline had the power of this palm, Luffy would definitely die. In front of the live broadcast screens around the world couldn't help but exclaimed again and again. The double shock fruits confrontation shocked many people, and now Sengoku's palm directly makes Whitebeard invisible, which is even more shocking. The strongest man in the world seems to be changing hands. Isn't Sengoku already number one in the world? Ken, for sure, even Roger probably wouldn't be able to make such a move. The world has witnessed how powerful Sengoku is today. White Land. Looking at Sengoku's current combat power, the Revolutionary Army felt a chill down their spine. This is the collision of two forces capable of destroying the world. I'm afraid after this battle, Marineford will become history. It's not important. What's important is Sengoku's current combat power. Without 3-4 emperors, I'm afraid we can't defeat him at all. The real first person in the world. The Revolutionary Army has some concerns about overthrowing the world government in the future, and can only pray that Vegapunk will go smoothly. Sengoku's terror is terrifying, and he's now targeting Ace. Since the execution was not carried out, it was up to him to execute it himself. On Rayleigh's side, when he saw Sengoku coming over, he immediately used Haki to wrap around his hands and then helped Ace uncuff the handcuffs. Once the handcuffs are removed, Ace is considered a successful rescue. Advertisement. Ace's flames ignited immediately, and the marine soldiers rushing around were forced back by Ace's flames. Haha. Luffy, Daddy, Marco, friends, I really don't know how to thank you. Ace appeared, and immediately he used flames to pretend to force Marine back. Luffy's eyes brightened. Ace. He yelled happily, and then threw himself on Ace. Although Rayleigh said he didn't want to interrupt the two, he had to interrupt. We should retreat. Sengoku is coming. Rescuing Ace is their goal in itself. The situation on the battlefield is too complicated now. They don't want to get magical items anymore, so retreat first. Whitebeard, Redhead, and the cadres and captains under his command all retreated from the square towards Crescent Bay. It is difficult to enter the square, but it is very simple to retreat. And at this moment, the huge angry King Kong fell from the sky and landed at the exit of Crescent Bay, standing with the pacifists. Since I was rescued, I should be rescued. It just so happens that I can be liberated. When I was on the execution platform, I couldn't help but want to make a move. As Sengoku said, he blasted out with a palm, and the shock wave brought the power of shock fruit to force Kaido back, which made Kaido, Big Mom and others break the siege of Akainu, and Akainu was able to get rid of their siege temporarily. Akainu joined Sengoku at the first time and united to avoid being entangled by Kaido, Big Mom and others. Without Dianguang and Bamboo Dragonfly, Akainu's moves and mobility have dropped a lot, and it is still very difficult to deal with 2-4 emperors at the same time. Marshal, what should we do now? Akainu asked coldly, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth. Sengoku glanced at Akainu, did not answer directly, and asked in a low voice, have you run out of Sengoku? There is one left, save it for critical times. Sengoku didn't say anything about Akainu's decision. Then Sengoku looked back at the battlefield, looking at the strength of his own side and the strength of the enemy. The soldiers on the Marine side suffered heavy losses, but it is estimated that there are still 50,000 to 60,000 soldiers who can still fight, not including the seriously injured. This number made Sengoku look very ugly. Pirates are much better than Marines, especially the Beasts pirates and Big Mom pirates who came later. Altogether, the number of people roughly obtained by observation Haki is almost 80,000, and the difference is 100 days. Marines generals also suffered heavy losses, and many rear admirals and vice admirals fell. Of course, the same is true for the pirates. The Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates have some upper middle class backbone deaths. The same is true for the Beasts pirates and the Big Mom pirates. Among them, 2 barbarians died, and more than a dozen were killed. Beasts pirates high-end combat power and no casualties, only serious injuries. Among them, Peggy Wan was seriously injured and was protected by her puffy-headed dragon sister. From this point, it can be seen that, like Marine, Lu's little fairy beans are also consumed. There were no deaths in the 3 disasters. On the side of the Big Mom pirates, 1 person died in battle in the high-end battle force, and the 4th star died. Of the 4 generals, there are only 3 generals left: Katakuri, Smoothie, and Cracker. Needless to say, Big Mom and Kaido, the 4 emperors have tenacious vitality and are hard to kill. Both the Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates suffered serious losses, many captains and cadres were killed and injured, and Marco almost died, if Whitebeard's own fairy beans hadn't been given to him. The regiment will lose a team that day. In terms of high-end combat power, Whitebeard's injury is relatively serious. He just suffered a blow from Sengoku's anger, and the Redhead's injury is not too serious. Rayleigh and Golden Lion, the former is the same as the Redhead, and the latter is more seriously injured because of always looking for Roger desperately. The rest were the prisoners from Impel Down, and Brandi had basically no injuries, because he was fighting against Hawkeye, and Hawkeye couldn't fight to the death, and the 2 sides contained each other. Bullet and Red Earl were more seriously injured. The former faced S-Ant and exchanged lives with him, while the latter faced Garp's Nika form and was beaten extremely aggrieved. The other Impel Down prisoners suffered more or less losses, while the Blackbeard pirates were mainly watching the show, so none of them suffered any injuries. Even if there are injuries, it is basically caused by fighting in Impel Down. The enemy's combat power is still not to be underestimated. On the Marine side, in terms of combat power, the 3 admirals are all there. There are also S-Anti, S-Snake, and Shichibukai, etc. Although Shichibukai are basically useless, they can still play a restraining role. It can only be said that it is better than nothing. Garp, Zephyr, and Momoshiki, who were not scheduled to make a shot, also made a shot, plus Roger and Sengoku Crane. This is the current Marine's full combat power. The foreign aid force also includes the pacifist troops led by Senmomaru. If it weren't for Marine's promotion of the monk magical item in the recent period, Marine might not be able to stabilize the situation at the current level. Sengoku mused, looking at Monk involuntarily. Monk is still fishing, and I can only hope that he can catch magical items in the future to provide Marine support. Advertisement. The question now becomes where to start, the people of Impel Down, or the people of 4 emperors. In fact, Ace is gradually becoming unimportant in this battle, because the influence of One Piece begins the moment he calls Monk master, and Marine has already won. Thinking of this, Sengoku decided to ignore it, and he yelled, Kaido, Ant, let me have fun with you all alone. You all attack indiscriminately, as much as you can leave. Sengoku ordered. Now he doesn't care about Ace, the One Piece Roger has appeared, his son is more important. As for why Sengoku is looking for Kaido and Big Mom, there is no reason, mainly because the 4 emperors are closest to each other. Sengoku doesn't have any magical items at all, and Marine's magical items are all given to the frontline combatants. He originally thought that there was no need to come to the back of the town. No, Sengoku has magical items, that is, the shock fruit ability brought by the random devil fruit on his body, and the physical strength and endurance improvement brought by many stamina pills. One person fights against two emperors. Sengoku strikes extremely ruthlessly, blasting out with a palm, tearing the void, shaking, and going straight to duo. Kaido quickly resisted, but the terrifying force made him fall backwards, and finally rolled on the ground continuously. Big Mom has already kept the bamboo dragonfly she got on her body and launched an attack on Sengoku. Kaido jumped up, cursed secretly, and rushed out with a lightning pill in his hand. Now that I got the magical item, it is natural to use it. On the other hand, the Red Earl was tortured and played by Garp. Although he was powerful, he also attacked Garp, but Garp's nonsensical attack really annoyed him, just like playing a game. But at this time, the evil king, Katarina, and others joined the battlefield, and the two joined hands to assist the Red Earl. It's not a good intention, but Blackbeard has taken a fancy to Garp's devil fruit. The Red Earl itself is at the top level of the Emperor. Coupled with Katarina and the evil king, two prisoners on the 6th floor of the submarine prison, the combination of the three began to make Garp a little stretched. On Burndee's side, Hawkeye didn't want to continue playing with him, so he put aside Burndee and faced Foil Vista. It was obvious that Hawkeye intended to touch the fish casually. The liberation of Burndee undoubtedly put pressure on Marine, so Crane had to forcefully go on top. Bullet's fight with S-Ant is still inseparable. Whitebeard, Hongfa, Fuli, etc. Li Leorin originally planned to leave. But it was persuaded by Blackbeard. Dad, hey, Blackbeard laughed. Such a good opportunity, are you going to leave? Think about it, once you're gone, Marine will come back and counterattack to win. Wait until Marine gets close to the magical item to increase combat power, do you think you won't be liquidated? Now that the Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates leave, the situation will be controlled by Marine again, so Blackbeard has to convince Blackbeard even at the risk of appearing in front of Whitebeard. Whitebeard, coupled with the persuasion of the Golden Lion, the Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates intend to stay and continue fighting to snatch the magical items. In fact, there are very few magical items that can be snatched from the current battle, only the Universal Capsule, any door, Lightning Pill, these. Ace originally planned to continue to trouble Blackbeard, but was persuaded by his father. The biggest enemy right now is Marine, after the matter is over, he will settle the matter with Blackbeard. Whitebeard pirates, Red Hair pirates continue to fight. This made Marine gradually start to lose the overall advantage. Zephyr fought against Blackbeard, Redhead, and Ben Beckman alone. No matter how strong he was, it was still very difficult. Aokiji matched Whitebeard plus Ace. Kizaru couldn't touch fish at all this time, Rayleigh, Lajalu and others pestered him. As for why the other generals didn't help, the three disasters, the three generals, and the other captains are enough for them to drink a pot. Marine is almost carrying a load forward. Patrol. All kinds of magical items began to be robbed, just when the balance of victory was about to turn to the pirates. Finally, the system voice sounded again in Monk's mind, congratulations host. ... Advertisement. Chapter 142 New Props, Batra Earrings. Advertisement. Just when the balance of victory was completely in favor of the pirates, Monk finally caught the god-level Myriad Realms prop once again. Congratulations to host for getting the Myriad Realms prop, Batra Earrings. Props are being improved. When Monk heard the name of the Myriad Realms prop, he couldn't help being taken aback. What is this? He doesn't have any impression of this Myriad Realms prop, is it something he hasn't seen? However, the props are being improved now, and Monk can only wait until the improvement is completed before he can see the specific effects. Soon, a systematic voice sounded in my mind again. Double benefits. Congratulations to host for obtaining God-level stamina pill. The double reward got the stamina pill, which surprised Monk again. Although it is said that physical strength pills can be obtained from the elementary school, the gap between the God level and the elementary school must be huge. Currently Monk does not practice, and his physical strength is completely improved by the physical strength pill. With this God-level physical strength pill, there will be a qualitative leap in the upper limit of physical strength, which is not bad. A powerful Conqueror's Haki can be better maintained with Monk. Don't look at how handsome Monk Conqueror's Haki is playing now, the stronger it is, the greater the consumption. On Monk's side, because Marine is restrained by strong people, no one can get close to him at all. As for the pirates who are not emperors, there is no one at all after seeing Monk use Conqueror's Haki to shock the Golden Lion. Dare to approach. As the war continued, Aokiji, Kizaru and others were already in a panic. Kizaru didn't dare to continue using the air cannon at all. His celestial beams are exhausted, and one person is facing several at the same time. Once he uses the air cannon and is jointly resisted, his empty body will become a weakness, and at that time he will be completely powerless revolving heaven. It's such a headache. For the first time, he felt tired and aches all over his body. The yellow suit has also become extremely worn out. If it goes on like this, Kizaru thinks he will be defeated. The same is true for Aokiji, various injuries have appeared all over his body, and the celestial beings are also exhausted. In an accident, he was kicked by an opponent, which aggravated his injury again. It's not good. 120. Aokiji and Kizaru are completely at a disadvantage. If this continues, if the two are jointly defeated first, there will be a vacancy in the high-level combat power. Collapse. Although General Marine said that his face was very determined, he also had a kind of confusion that could not see hope. What should Marine do now? On Monk's side, the voice of the system in his mind resounded in his mind again. Open black lens bracket Potara earrings close black lens bracket improvement completed. After hearing that the improvement was completed, Monk quickly looked at the introduction of Potara earrings without any hesitation. In an instant, Monk understood what it was. It turned out to be fit earrings. Among the 7 Dragon Balls, a pair of earrings that can be used for merging. After improvement, this earring can allow the user to be merging for 10 minutes in this world. After 10 minutes, it will automatically disintegrate, and then cool down for 24 hours. That is to say, you can only fit together once in 10 days. During the fusion period, both parties get a state, refresh, instantly, and at the same time, any abilities of both parties can be superimposed, and at the same time, various attributes can be improved. What a great prop. Monk couldn't help but his eyes flickered. As expected of a god item. Any ability stacks, which means devil fruit abilities can also stack. Monk intends to try, of course not to try it himself, but to find 2 fits to try. Under the current circumstances, it is necessary to find a strong player. Sengoku and Garp are naturally the best candidates in Monk's mind, but now Sengoku is far away, and he alone beats Big Mom and Kaido. I have to say that the current Sengoku is really powerful. If there are no other changes, it is really difficult for the Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates to compete with the current Marine. Now the closest, that is. Monk frowned, and soon saw Kizaru and Aokiji. The state of the two of them is not very good at this time. It happens that Potara earrings can instantly refresh the state of both parties and restore the state of both parties. Monk didn't hesitate any longer, and said, Aokiji Admiral, Kizaru Admiral, you two come here sometime. The sudden words made the audience focus on Monk again. Advertisement. Kizaru and Aokiji looked at Monk noncommittally, not understanding what he was going to do. Although the former said he was still puzzled, he flashed to Monk's side with the 8-foot mirror in an instant, and had nothing else to dodge on Monk's side. It's really hard to be attacked. Although Aokiji moved a little slower, he soon came to Monk's side. At the same time, the strong men who had just besieged the two of them also surrounded them one after another. They didn't rush forward, but looked at Monk with some apprehension. One is because of Monk's Conqueror's Haki, and the other is because I am thinking about what new magical items Monk has. Monk, if you don't shoot, we won't shoot you, but what do you mean now? Rayleigh asked. The Conqueror's Haki shown by Monk just now is naturally frightening. It is best not to fight against him, try not to fight with him. Monk chuckled, I won't make a move, you can rest assured. However, my uncle is also a member of Marine, out of love, I should help anyway. By the way, let's test the magical item I've caught. As soon as he heard that Monk had really fished a new magical item, even though the battle was still going on, 10 eyes were all on Monk's side. Aokiji and Kizaru are even brighter. They are really in a mess now. If Marine can break the situation, they can only rely on Monk's magic item. Burndi, the Red Earl. A series of strong men began to approach this side intentionally or unintentionally. Everyone is ready to see what this new magical item is and see if there is a chance to snatch it. It can be said that everyone has not made a shot now because Monk's super powerful Conqueror's Haki is suppressing the formation. But everyone is not too afraid, just jealous. No matter how powerful Monk Conqueror's Haki is, so many of them are really not afraid. The reason why Monk has not made a move after there are more strong players is to keep them in awe. His Conqueror's Haki limit is at the level of the 4 emperors. Once they join forces to resist and know what they are, their fear of Monk's Conqueror's Haki will be greatly reduced, and they will start to attack Monk in an all-round way. With Monk's current strength, he would probably be able to deal with the 2 emperors in a fight, even if his overall strength surpassed Sengoku's. Combat is not about you punching each other, but about actual combat experience, and what Monk lacks is exactly this. Of course, if Monk doesn't care about consumption, in the early stage, he can fight 4 king-level players by himself, screaming, and playing Jack before he is exhausted. No skill, pure lotus. But when his medicine is finished, there will be a kind of difficulty. Monk didn't talk nonsense, he quickly took out a pair of earrings, and said to Aokiji and Kizaru, you two should wear them in opposite positions, one on the left and the other on the right. Looking at the earring in Monk's hand, both Aokiji and Kizaru had big question marks in their hearts, but they didn't ask what it was, and took it from Monk's hand, and just did it. All around, after seeing the earrings, all the pirates looked at each other very puzzled. But they understand that whatever it is, it's best not to let both Aokiji and Kizaru wear it easily. But if they make a move, Monk will definitely explode Conqueror's Haki. Just when Hongfa and the others were hesitating, Burndi, Bullet, and others rushed over. What are you hesitating about? Bullet used the fusion fruit to fuse a huge arm. That's right, there are so many of us, and we're afraid of a brat. Burndi laughed and fired the knife and bullets in his hand. At the same time, he used enhancements, and the knife and bullets became huge. The two took the lead in launching an attack on Monk, which made the Red Hair, Rayleigh, Whitebeard and others look at each other and plan to make a move. However, Kizaru and Aokiji did not stop wearing earrings because of the attack. They put on their earrings, one on the left and the other on the right. After doing what Monk said, the two planned to fend off the attack. However, the two of them couldn't help but startled, and found something was wrong. Yo, how does it feel, my body? Before Kizaru finished speaking, he and Aokiji were attracted to each other, flashing a dazzling white light in full view. The white light was dazzling, illuminating the entire battlefield, like a lighting lamp in the night, causing people in the entire battlefield to stop fighting one after another and turn their heads to see what was going on. After the white light passed, everyone saw that the attacks by Burndy and Bullet just now had disappeared unknowingly. The huge knife became several sections, the huge bullet was frozen by the ice, and Bullet's fused huge arm also collapsed and disintegrated. Amidst the smoke and dust, everyone saw a person standing in the middle, wearing a yellow suit and a long snow-white robe. The face is Aokiji's face, combined with Kizaru's pouting expression, wearing toed glasses, and Aokiji's eye patch on top of the head. Yo, advertisement. Aokiji and Kizaru looked at their bodies alone, quite surprised. All around, everyone was even more surprised when they saw that Aokiji and Kizaru merged into one person, and couldn't help but exclaimed again and again. This is, combined. Two people merged into one person. How so? Yes, is that the earring? Arts. The whole audience was stunned, and there was a lot of shocked voices. They didn't expect it to be a fit. This kind of development was unexpected by everyone. Both Marine and Pirates looked at Monk one after another, even Kizaru and Aokiji himself were curious. It wasn't until this point that Monk began to say what the earring was. After all, Aokiji and Kizaru are already combined, and no one can stop them. Monk touched his nose and said with a smile, "This is called Batra earrings, which can make the person who wears the earring fit into one person. Abilities superimposed, strength doubled." Of course, Monk will not say the limitations of the Batra earrings, and first will tell Marine and others about this later. Yo, the combined eyes of Aokiji and Kizaru brightened, it's amazing. I also feel stronger than ever. By the way, what should my name be now? Blue and Ape, or, Aokiji and Kizaru's combined person said a few names, and finally he gave a faint, yo, and said, then it's called, Blue and Yellow. Codenamed, Blue and Yellow. Monk has a messy feeling in the wind, what kind of name is this? Can you think about it again? Is it too casual? However, Qing and Huang obviously didn't think so. After deciding on his own name, he resolutely began to perform. A flash appeared beside Bullet in an instant. The improvement of Sparkling Fruit's ability made Bullet unable to even react. I saw that Bullet's expression gradually became surprised, and at the same time he turned his head to look over. Qing and Huang whispered in his ears, "Have you ever been kicked by the speed of light?" Without giving Bullet any more time to react, and without waiting for Bullet's answer, Qing and Huang kicked Bullet on the forehead. In an instant, Bullet flew upside down like a ball, rolling on the ground one after another. Well, everyone was horrified. Qing and Huang's displayed strength was a bit strong. When everyone was horrified, Qing and Huang appeared in front of Burndy. Burndy was startled at first, then gritted his teeth and shouted, 100 times stronger. The one in his hand shot at Qing and Huang with a bang, but it was caught by Qing and Huang's fingers. He didn't take it with a finger, and he was happy to see that the bullets were frozen into hockey pucks before they were fully enlarged. Burndy was shocked, and was about to flee with a swish. Speed enhancement. But in the middle of the sentence, it turned into a muffled grunt of pain. One side of Burndy's body had turned into an ice sculpture, and the whole body was kicked out. Whitebeard, Redhead, and Rayleigh, the three of them realized that something was wrong, which was stronger than imagined. The three began to join forces, and one person could not deal with Qing and Huang alone. And at this moment, Qing and Huang's voices sounded from behind the three of them. Hey! You are really slow. Whitebeard, Redhead and Rayleigh get chills down their spines. Advertisement. Chapter 143 Batra Earrings. Pirate's Nightmare. Advertisement. The blue and yellow voices sent shivers down the spines of Whitebeard, Redhead and Rayleigh. It was really cold, because frost appeared on the backs of the three of he ran. When was it behind us? Rayleigh began in a low voice. They didn't perceive their knowledge color at the first time, not because of the green and yellow color of knowledge, but because they didn't even respond to their observation Haki, which is quite scary. The redhead reacted first, and the griffin in his hand slashed down towards Kizaru. Black thunder intertwined and appeared in all directions, and the entanglement of the king's frosty air made the red hair's attack extremely sharp. Qing and Huang turned into two halves. When the pirates around saw this scene, their eyes were filled with joy. Great, the redhead used his domineering spirit. These two admirals are dead. In the eyes of everyone, Qing and Huang were cut in half by the attack of Haki, the red-haired belt, which means that the injury is real. Since the two are a fit, then the blow of the red hair will kill a person. However, soon the pirates all stared wide-eyed, because they found that Qing and Huang were fine, and Aokiji still had Kizaru's face that deserved to be beaten. Oh, it's a pity. I'm elementalized first, otherwise this blow could really kill me. After finishing speaking, Mao and Huang raised their palms and pointed at the red letter. Snapped. In the stunned eyes of the crowd, they saw a majestic four emperors, red hair. Shanks was slapped away by Qing and Huang's big DK. He dragged on the ground for a long time, and a simple slap made the red hair spit out a mouthful of blood on the ground. Now that the two sides are fighting to such an extent, the immortal beans are all used up. Whitebeard and Futura were also kicked out. The pupils of the pirates trembled violently, and they looked at Qing and Huang in horror. Quote. In a short period of time, he defeated several world-class powerhouses. After the two admirals are combined, is their strength so terrifying? The scary thing is not Admiral, but Monk's magical item, his earring. Everyone was shocked and frightened. The earrings allow Aokiji and Kizaru to fit together. This is not like 1 plus 1 equals 2, because even if Aokiji and Kizaru join forces, it is impossible to achieve the current situation and such combat power. Now the combination of Aokiji and Kizaru is beyond everyone's imagination. It can be said that Qing and Huang played with the top powerhouses like Whitebeard and Red Hair in the palm of their hands. How many more frights will we have to give us? Go first, I can't resist it at all. Qing and Huang began to be active on the battlefield, and his activity also allowed Marine to breathe. The balance of victory was pulled back in an instant. However, the pirates quickly adjusted and began to join forces to deal with Qing and Huang. Whitebeard, Redhead, Rayleigh, Bullet, Red Earl, and some other strong men. It is necessary to join forces to stop Qing and Huang first, otherwise, if this continues, the advantage of the pirates will be pulled back by Qing and Huang alone. In fact, what they don't know is that Batra Earrings has a time limit. If they knew it, they would definitely not choose to confront Qing and Huang head-on, but would choose to deal with Qing and Huang. Nearly 7 or 8 strong men fought with Qing and Huang alone. Even if they were used like this, they were still played by Qing and Huang. The calmness and strength of blue and yellow are moving. And just after the new round of offensive, Qing and Huang couldn't help but took out the air cannon. Because the air cannon has always been in Kizaru's hands, Kizaru and Aokiji are combined, so naturally it is still on Kizaru's body. Qing and Huang put the air cannon on their fingers, and then said lightly, "Yo. Although it's a bit expensive, I really want to see how terrifying my current strength is." The pupils of the strong men below all shrank violently, and cold sweat squeaked out. What are you kidding? The air cannon itself is capable of allowing strong men of the same level to easily injure the opponent's ability. Now Qing and Huang's combat power is even more terrifying. When this cannon comes down, whoever is hit will die. Quick, get out of the way. Whitebeard yelled. Don't retreat together, retreat separately. One advantage of retreating separately is that it can distract the line of sight. If anyone is targeted, it can only be said that luck is not very good. So this is betting on whose luck is better. Red-haired, Rayleigh, one by one strong men began to separate and retreat. The threat of air cannons can be seen in general. Advertisement. Hey, it's really a headache, Qing and Huang murmured. Then he pointed the air cannon at Whitebeard. Let's get rid of the person who was going to get rid of first. Originally, the execution of Ace was really for the purpose of pulling down the Whitebeard pirates, and it has evolved into the current situation, which no one expected. So Qing and Huang intend to keep Whitebeard here forever. Whitebeard's eyes sank, but he didn't show any fear or panic. For him, coming this time is a preparation in itself. The only thing left is resignation. From the time he met Ace, saw Ace's qualities, and being a human being, Whitebeard actually wanted to push Ace to the same height as his father. In other words, Whitebeard will make Ace the one piece after Roger. It's a pity that if I die here, I won't be able to see it. The rest of the retreat, Rayleigh, the redhead, said he was worried about Whitebeard, but he was also grateful. Fortunately, I did not choose to wait for others. Bullet, the Red Earl, and Burndee, the three of them didn't even hide their joy. Haha, luckily it's not me. Burndee laughed. He still has to find his elder brother, he still needs to help his elder brother to heal his illness, there are still many, many things to be done. However, Burndee's smile froze on his face in the next second, because he found that the air cannon that was originally aimed at Whitebeard was now aimed at himself. It made Burndee feel like he was on a roller coaster. Why? You just chose Whitebeard, why choose yourself now? What's the difference between me and Whitebeard? Qing and Huang let out a yo, and said lightly, because there are no Marines in your direction, there are a bit too many Marine soldiers in Whitebeard's direction. Burndee couldn't help being taken aback, and quickly looked around. It's really not a Marine soldier. This made him extremely regretful that he chose the escape route, and immediately wanted to run to a place where there were many Marine soldiers. However, if Qing and Huang approached you, might they give him such an opportunity? Without any hesitation, the air cannon on the finger fired. With the firing of an invisible air cannon, Burndee's heart also fell to the bottom. Hateful. A****. Lousy will kill you. Grass mud horse Kizaru. Grass mud horse Aokiji. I should have known that lousy. The fear of death drove Burndee a little crazy, and he kept yelling at Qing and Huang. At the same time, Burndee did not choose to sit still and let out a roar to strengthen himself. Attack is strengthened by 300 times. Burndee didn't use a pistol this time, nor did he use any other weapons, and simply attacked himself powerfully. Immediately, Burndee's eyes were red, and his whole body became more bloated like a turtle fairy, erupting. Not only the muscles, but even the veins are swollen and violent. In just a split second, the aura on Burndee's body became extremely powerful. Unable to foresee the attack, then Lousy will destroy everything. With force from the soles of Burndee's feet, the ground was torn apart in an instant, and his fist screamed, causing the void to vibrate continuously, as if it would be unable to bear the shattering in the next second. Monk was a little surprised when Burndee's fists and body began to crumble. It turned out to be like this. Before Monk felt that Burndee's Momo fruit was very powerful, but he often strengthened weapons, items and other things other than himself to attack, and he didn't understand why. Now Monk kind of knows why. Because if you strengthen yourself, your body will be unable to carry it too many times. Strengthening will bring your own terrifying strength and at the same time will make your body collapse. And now Burndee has to take the risk of physical collapse to attack, because if he doesn't attack, he will die. Burndee, like, One Punch Man, punched green and yellow with one punch. Since it is impossible to capture and predict the attack of the air cannon, then go up to it by yourself. Xing and Huang raised their eyebrows. Hey, it's really scary to improve your own strength. However, the moment Berndi came into contact with the air cannon, his body, which had already collapsed due to strengthening, began to collapse at an accelerated rate. With red eyes, he gritted his teeth, trying to defeat the air cannon. However, it was himself who defeated him in the end. Berndi's whole body was swallowed by the air cannon, leaving only the last roar of unwillingness, and then fell from the air to the ground like a rag. Ask for flowers. Xing and Huang's air cannon, even if he strengthened his own strength, could not resist it. Even if it was a stalemate, it would be difficult to do it all at once. Advertisement. World Destroyer. Berndi falls. The audience was silent, and the faces of the pirates were stained with deep fear and horror. The strength of Xing and Huang shrouded their hearts like a huge curtain, becoming the nightmare of all the pirates. Strong as Xing and Huang cooperate with the air cannon, no one can stop it at all. Okay. Blue and yellow have become a pirate's nightmare. In the crowd, Blackbeard watched Berndi's falling position, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. In midair, Xing and Huang stood on a long icicle, and Berndi's fall did not make his expression fluctuate at all. He glanced around and nodded. And this, directly made the hearts of all the pirates tighten suddenly. As if Shinigami sounded the death knell. Next, let me see, it's time to sleep. Xing and Huang don't plan to continue using the air cannon. Even though they are powerful after being combined, the consumption of the air cannon is still too great to bear. And when all the pirates in the audience were tense, a hurricane suddenly blew up in the audience. Some seriously injured people even fell directly. Obviously such a hurricane is unusual. Hey, Xing and Huang seemed to have sensed something. With surprise on their faces, they looked up. I didn't expect to provoke these guys. 0. On top of the dilapidated ruins of the headquarters, a figure appeared. The figure is wearing a robe, his face is hidden under the hood, and the scar on his face can be seen faintly, which may also be a tattoo pattern. Immediately afterwards, a group of crows flew over, and then gathered together to form a person. The earth seemed to become soft and began to squirm, followed by a humanoid animal. Another new force has emerged! Exclamation mark. The Revolutionary Army. These guys are here anyway. Sengoku couldn't help frowning. I didn't expect that the forces at the top of the world had almost reached it. The appearance of the Revolutionary Army surprised many people. Why did the Revolutionary Army get involved in the battle between pirates and marines? Monk, who was fishing for the last magical item, was also surprised. The Revolutionary Army has provoked it. Everyone looked at the group of revolutionary soldiers, who were standing in many places in the ruins. The leading dragon raised his head and scanned all directions. Now the entire naval headquarters is beyond recognition, and the former marine fort is now a broken island. Corpses were everywhere, and the ground was even dyed blood red. The blood flowing into rivers may be the scene of this situation. The troops invested by the two sides reached a huge 200,000, and looking around now, it is estimated that there are less than 50,000 standing. The casualties are heavy to ultimate. After looking around, Long said lightly, "Everyone, I hope you will give me a face and stop the war. If this war continues without a winner, it will only add more sacrifices." Long began to lobby. Monk called it a good guy. The original timeline was the Red Hair Pirates, and now it has become the Revolutionary Army. But it's normal to think about it. Although the Revolutionary Army doesn't belong to any faction, they are revolutionizing for people, freedom, and the casualties of this battle will cause pain to the families of those soldiers around the world, and this is what the Revolutionary Army does not want to see. Long's words silenced both sides. The battle has reached this level, and everyone has become red-eyed. How could it be possible to give up the battle so easily? Xing and Huang raised their eyebrows and said. In other words, when your Revolutionary Army comes over, it happens to eradicate your Revolutionary Army together. However, at this time, Monk, who was still fishing, stood up. He sneered and said, "What Long said is not wrong, but it is time for a truce. It happens to be the last shot, and I also want to finish fishing quietly. It is impossible to keep fighting, because the combination of Xing and Huang is about to end, and once it is over, Marine will still fall into the previous predicament." Monk spoke, which made Marine a lot of Shiro actually discouraged. On the pirate side, Whitebeard, Redhead, Rayleigh and others were exhausted, and they also expressed their withdrawal from the battle. Whitebeard pirates, Red Hair pirates quit, Kaido and Big Mom have no reason not to quit. Gradually, the two sides reached a consensus, that is, an armistice. In fact, at this point in the fight, both sides are already exhausted, but they just lack an opportunity, and now the Revolutionary Army just gave such an opportunity. And, advertisement. Chapter 144 The Last Fishing Tool, Devil Fruit Fusion Device. Advertisement. The long battle brought endless exhaustion to everyone present, not only physically, but also mentally. In fact, the battle has been up to now, no matter what the original purpose of the two sides is, it is no longer important. The difference between the two sides is an opportunity to stop the war. And now the emergence of the Revolutionary Army just gave such an opportunity. On Marine's side, after Monk spoke, Sengoku also called a truce, because he believed his nephew judged that since Monk chose to truce, there must be his reasons. On the pirate side, Whitebeard, Redhead, and Rayleigh agreed to a truce, which forced Big Mom, Kaido, and the people from Impel down to a truce. Furthermore, Xing and Huang's instant killing of Berndi just now made him a pirate's nightmare. Everyone didn't want to fight anymore, and they took away many magical items that could be obtained. Just when the two sides reached a truce, dazzling flashes erupted from Xing and Huang. The light made everyone look at him. After the light faded, Aokiji and Kizaru were already separated and became two people again. This made the two of them look at each other involuntarily, seeing the surprise in each other's eyes. Then they couldn't help but look at Monk. At this moment, Monk happened to look at the two of them, with a faint smile on his lips. This made both of them realize why Monk was the first to stand up for the truce. When Monk introduced the Bartra earrings just now, there was no corresponding restriction on the introduction. Now it seems that the fit is sometimes. Naturally, Aokiji and Kizaru were also smart people, they were silent and did not speak, and at the same time they were very calm and composed, making people around them feel as if they were about to disintegrate on their own. 823. I have to say that the acting skills of the two are very good, and there is no problem at all. The pirates around looked at Aokiji and Kizaru, and quickly averted their eyes. In their hearts, they both felt that after the truce, the two of them felt that there was no need to continue fighting, so they chose to disintegrate. With the intervention of the Revolutionary Army, this unprecedented epic battle came to an end. The pirates began to evacuate one after another, and Marine also began to clean up the battlefield and treat the wounded. With the departure of the pirates, this battle is officially over. People all over the world watched the cut-off live broadcast, speechless for a long time. Not, it's over. This is the end. What about Ace? Ace has not been executed, how can this be let go? He is the son of One Piece, Roger, and he has the blood of the descendants of demons, so he cannot be easily let go. What the hell? Roger is now a Marine. Does his son matter? That's right. There are so many top players in this battle, they are the focus, okay. Speaking of which, the pirates won this battle, or the Marines won. Silence, and nothing but silence. Is there really a winner in this war? Pirates. But if the fight continues, Admiral Aokiji and Kizaru's combined blue and yellow can tear apart the entire pirate alliance. If it's Marine's loss is extremely heavy, and I'm afraid it won't be able to recover for a while. Maybe there is really no one who is the winner. Naval headquarters, with the departure of the pirates, the Revolutionary Army is also preparing to leave. Garp looked at his son hiding under the brim of his hat, silently watching them leave without saying a word. On Sengoku's side, he has returned to his normal body shape, and at the same time began to organize the follow-up rescue work. The other generals also joined in the cleaning of the battlefield and rescue work without rest. Momosuke, Hina, Zephyr and others all returned to Monk one after another. Even Zephyr's face was tired, and his clothes were all in tatters. Zephyr came to Monk and asked, Monk, do you still have fairy beans? Monk took the fishing rod and threw a bag of fairy beans to FA without any unnecessary nonsense. Advertisement. It is said to be a bag, but in fact there are only a dozen or so in this bag, facing the wounded all over the place, the dead are not enough at all. In addition, there are only one or two, Phnom Penh immortal beans, that can be revived in the immortal beans. In other words, many generals have not returned. Zephyr took the fairy beans and finally sat down with a sad face. His two students, that is, Bins, they are already hopeless, even the highest level fairy bean is useless, unless it is the item that revives Roger, that is, the time-wrapped skin. In the entire battlefield, there are too many people with sad faces like Zephyr. Monk was also a little uncomfortable by this repressed division. For the first time, he truly experienced the cruelty of war. And at this time, the system sounded, and the last fishing got Devil Fruit Fusion device, and the double benefit was a consolation reward God level Wazi. Monk couldn't help but look at the new item this time. Judging from the name, this item is a derivative item of the system itself, so there is no need to improve it. Devil Fruit Fusion device, it can fuse the user's own two Devil Fruit fruits to obtain a new Devil Fruit. Devil Fruit has an absolute upper level suppression on Devil Fruit. That is to say, it can fuse the Devil Fruit abilities that it does not need to form a new Devil Fruit. Monk had such an idea before, wanting to dispose of or replace his useless string fruit and fortress fruit, but now the system realizes his idea. The most important thing is that the demonic fruit formed by the fusion of two Devil Fruits is the high-level fruit of Devil Fruit. The system also specifically stated that it has absolute high-level suppression. It means that you can further improve your own strength through the fruit of gods and demons. It should be known that the abilities of Devil Fruits also have high and low levels, such as Akainu's Lava Fruit and Ace's Mera Fruit. There is no suspense in the battle between the two, that is to say, when the Devil Fruit is fighting against Devil Fruit, there is no suspense on both sides. Monk licked his lips, full of anticipation for what kind of god and Devil Fruit he would synthesize with his string fruit and fortress fruit abilities. However, there is no rush to synthesize at the moment. The current atmosphere makes Monk not in the mood to sort out the harvest. Naval headquarters has basically become a ruin. The former world center and military important place is now like a ruin that has been abandoned for thousands of years. The entire Marineford has also become a broken island. Perhaps it has not sunk into the sea, but it is difficult to restore the prosperity of the past. After a general inventory, this time Marine invested 100,000 elites, only more than 10,000 were slightly injured, more than 30,000 were seriously injured, and more than 20,000 were seriously injured. The number of serious injuries is still decreasing, not cured, but died. These are not miscellaneous soldiers, they are the elite of Marine's background over the years. After arranging some affairs, Sengoku sat tiredly by the gravel. He squeezed the space between his brows, and before he could rest for a while, the soldiers rushed over to inform Marshal, the sixth floor of the submarine prison was broken, and the warden was seriously injured in order to protect the submarine prison. Sengoku's face turned ugly. Ultimate said, contact Commander Kong and ask him to send troops to deal with it first. Yes. The soldier replied and left the scene in a hurry. The sixth floor of the submarine prison was breached, and many prisoners escaped. Marine will be busy again in the following days. Sengoku pondered what to do next. Marine has suffered a heavy loss this time, and it is necessary to replenish new forces, which means that it is important to form a conscription. Secondly, the soldier who died in the war this time must also do a good job of appeasing his family, otherwise he will be sorry to those who fought for the Marine. Then there is the problem of naval headquarters. The reconstruction of Marineford is a huge project, and I am afraid that it will be. Sengoku couldn't help but glanced at the current Marineford and the buildings of naval headquarters, and couldn't help but be speechless. Perhaps, transferring naval headquarters is the best option. But in this way, a problem arises. Marineford is the center of gravity of the world and is of great significance. There are no 10 cities that are more suitable for naval headquarters than Marineford. This issue will be discussed at a meeting of all high-level officials at a later date before making a decision. Then there was another question about the world government. Firstly, he had to report the situation, and secondly, there was no other excuse not to take Monk to the world government this time. The original plan to let Monk become the fourth admiral did not succeed, otherwise, I would not be afraid of Monk going to see the five elders. Perhaps it was because of the end of the war just now, or maybe it was because of Monk. Sengoku suddenly felt his own fatigue. So tired, he couldn't help but look at Monk, who sat silently in the fishing chair. Advertisement. Surrounded by Momosugi, Hina, Zephyr, originally there were 3 people, but now there are a few more people, namely S Big Mom, Roger, Aokiji and Kazaru. That's right, the 2 admirals also went to hang out with Monk. Kid Wen, unknowingly, he has become the center of many strong people. Quote. Sengoku still can't understand, where does the Monk's powerful combat power come from? Magic item boost, but are magical item ascensions that scary? They themselves and others have also spent huge sums of money to improve their strength with magical items, and the increase in strength is not as terrifying as Monk. Rubbing his forehead, Sengoku laughed, forget it, the secret of this D is not something that I and others can understand. Suddenly Sengoku's eyes flashed, young people, coupled with strong strength, penultimate's cohesion and influence, and some overall planning abilities. Sengoku looks at Monk again, maybe he can push Monk to the position of Marine Marshal. There is such an idea because Sengoku feels that it is time for him to retire. There is no way to work diligently and tirelessly for most of his life. Now he is really tired. With the idea of retirement. While this idea emerged, Sengoku also saw a brand new candidate, that is, to push Monk to the position of Marshal. In this way, not only can I fulfill my wish, but I can also retire with peace of mind. Marine also has a strong supporter. The most important thing is that once Monk becomes the Marine Marshal, there is no need to worry about meeting with the 5 elders. A Marine Marshal, the 5 elders should respect whatever they say, and will not put Monk under house arrest in the holy land of Mariajoy. Maybe it's really a good way. Sengoku felt delighted in his heart, as to whether Monk would refuse. It's okay if he refuses, Sengoku just treats it as a try. If Monk takes over Marine, it's a good thing, but if he doesn't take over, he is no longer the Marshal of Marine when he retires. Monk is not a member of Marine, and 5 elders' pressure is fine. Anyway, Monk won't go to see him, and the world government has nothing to do. Thinking of this, Sengoku felt a little better. That's it. The epic battle has come to an end. Marine, Whitebeard pirates, Red Hair pirates. Both sides of the regiment sat on the same boat. This time Ace rescued 5.2, but the whole ship was silent. Whether it is the own group or other foreign groups, the losses of both sides are huge. Many of the main members of the regiment also died in battle, including Foil Sword, Beasta, and 2 other captain-level figures. On the red-haired side, several cadres were also killed in battle. Fortunately, the core members were not killed in battle, but their injuries were serious. Without Shondo, it would take a long time to recover. Looking at the seriously injured members of the ship, Whitebeard looked at the redhead, Rayleigh and Golden Lion and said, after we bury the dead, we will go to the island of ghosts. Kaido and the others can make fairy beans, let's go get some, and then heal the seriously injured. Why? Rayleigh let out a breath. Whitebeard, do you think Kaido and Big Mom will give it? Of course, Whitebeard said firmly. This time they participate in the battle, Marine will inevitably be liquidated, and now Marine has a new magical item, Batra earrings, in Kaido and must choose to join forces with us. Of course, we also need their power. It can be said that today we must be bound together, or we will be defeated one by one after the Marine reorganization is completed. The combined strength of Aokiji and Kazaru, I think. They must have seen it too. Quote. Rayleigh stopped talking and nodded in acquiescence. Meanwhile, Kaido, Big Mom's side. At this time, they were heading to Ghost Island. Although they got a lot of magical items this time, the faces of the couriers and others were still ugly. Advertisement. Chapter 145 Only the power that can be controlled is a good power. Advertisement. Of the 4 generals under Dama's command, there are only 3 generals left, and 1 strong general has been lost. Although the aunt didn't feel much about the loss of Zhongxing, she still felt distressed when she lost more retainers. Because her pirates are all bound by blood, and now the retainers have lost too much, and it is difficult to make up for it. Could it be that they still have their own lives? Maybe it really can. In short, the Big Mom pirates have suffered heavy losses and it is difficult to directly fill them up like other pirates. On Kaido's side, after his subordinates counted the losses this time, his complexion was not too good. The givers under his command are only half of what they were when they set off. This is Kaido's painstaking efforts over the past 10 years. In addition, the success rate of man-made devil fruit is not very high. It will take several years to restore to the previous scale. Kaido was inexplicably sad and melancholy, and suddenly burst into tears with a, wow, and entered the, sad drunk mode. The members of Big Mom pirates all around looked at Kaido in astonishment, they never thought that Kaido of the beasts, the majestic, strongest creature, would burst into tears. This is really a bit strange. Yes, would you like to comfort your Captain Kaido? I saw him crying so sad. Everyone in the beasts pirates looked at each other, and they had rarely seen Captain Kaido like this. As for the consolation, what a joke, what kind of consolation does the majestic Kaido need? I'm afraid he will be slapped to death later. The top management of beasts is a bit used to it, and Kaido's temperament is like this. The ant on the side showed a look of disgust, but she didn't say anything, and went directly to the topic. He opened the mouth and said, Kaido, wipe your snot off your nose, we should talk about business, what are we going to do next? Although this battle finally ceased, it was only the beginning. The next thing to do is to wait until Marine is trained, and then after hoarding the 10th grade of magical items again, he will definitely use the central earrings to encircle and suppress them pirates. Not only is this earring scary, but the air cannon is also a very tricky magical item. Kaido quickly restrained his expression and changed his face in an instant. He resumed his seriousness. Next, continue to increase the production of man-made devil fruit, and at the same time improve it. Kaido's first point is about the strength of man-made devil fruit. The output and quality of the man-made devil fruit developed by Geisa before was not high. This time, with the addition of the Vinsmoke family, the output and quality should be improved. The so-called quality improvement naturally refers to the success rate. As long as the success rate can increase, the recovery of beasts pirates can be accelerated. As for the fairy beans, universal capsules, and other magical items, just keep the original effect. Today's little fairy bean is between 40% and 50% effective. It can restore a severed arm, but it cannot be revived. The effects of other magical items are high or low, but Kaido does not intend to continue to improve the effects of these magical items that have been analyzed, just keep the current state. Now we have to focus on newly obtained magical items such as lightning pill, bamboo dragonfly, and any door. Recreating these magical items will improve the improvement even more. Among them, the lightning pill is the most critical magical item. As long as it can be reproduced perfectly, then their beasts pirates and Big Mom pirates will have many more strong swordsmen. Of course, Kaido, Auntie and others know that it is impossible to achieve a perfect reproduction, and it is quite good to be able to reproduce a certain effect. In short, Kaido has made a good plan for their double royals to move forward. Next, it is from the external aspect. Kaido looked at Linlin, and said in a low voice, I think we can win over the Whitebeard pirates and the Red Hair pirates to form the Four Emperors Alliance. These words shocked everyone present. Everyone looked at Kaido in amazement, and the ant was also surprised, but she was a little calmer. A smile formed on the corner of her mouth, and she said in a deep voice, Kaido, you are worried. Kaido nodded directly, although I don't want to admit it, even I feel the deep fear of the strong marine after the Bartra earrings fit together. Advertisement. He said such a sentence, but no one laughed at Kaido, and all the pirates nodded in agreement. The combination of Kizaru and Aokiji has also been seen by everyone present, it is definitely a nightmare for pirates. I think it's impossible for the two of us to deal with Marine after using Batra's earring fusion. The combination of Whitebeard, Redhead and Rayleigh can be easily destroyed by Ching and Huang alone on the battlefield just now. It takes at least 5 powerful people to join forces to resist, so now Kaido thinks that the Red Hair pirates and Whitebeard pirates should join forces. In this way, it is possible to resist the sneak attack that Marine may use the Batra earring. After Whitebeard and the Red Hair are brought together, there will be 2 strong players, Rayleigh and Golden Lion. Coupled with the 2 emperors on their side, it is enough to deal with Batra's earrings. Ant didn't have too many objections to Kaido's proposal, she laughed and said, I really didn't expect that after so many years, we would be forced to join forces one day. When Rox was still there, Golden Lion, Kaido, Big Mom and Whitebeard were the 4 strongest cadres under his command. After the collapse of Rox Pirate, the 4 of them parted ways, and now. And at this time, Jack spoke, and at this time his whole body was wrapped in bandages, his left hand had disappeared, and his right hand was still hanging. Now there is no fairy bean, and there is no little fairy bean, and the broken arm can only be restored after Geisa and Judge continue to make it. After Marine got the Bartra earring, wouldn't we be able to act alone in the future? On the side, Jin made it clear for Jack, that is to say, we must leave a combat force capable of dealing with Batra's earrings in the stronghold, otherwise Marine may take advantage of our lack of combat power to carry out an attack. All around, everyone looked at each other, thinking that Jack was right. Kaido said in a low voice, there is nothing to worry about. Facing these problems, Kaido doesn't care too much. Our stronghold doesn't have to be in our original stronghold. Although it is very sad, but the current situation is special, and we can only deal with it specially. The sea is so big, and it is difficult for Marines to find our stronghold. Isn't the Revolutionary Army an example? Everyone also stopped talking. Since Kaido has said so, he will do so with a high probability. They just need to follow Kaido and Big Mom. Next, the plan of the two royal groups is very simple. Go back to their respective territories, arrange the evacuation work, and find someone to contact Whitebeard and the red-haired two royal groups by the way. What Kaido, Ant and the others don't know is that Whitebeard, the messenger from the red-haired side has already set off early. The two imperial regiments have their own ideas, and when faced with a strong enemy, they will basically agree with each other. Meanwhile, the other side. The Blackbeard pirates and the strong old men who escaped from Impel Down came together. This time, unlike the original timeline, it was not Whitebeard who died, but World Destroyer, Burndy, the demon fruit power with the bug level of Momo fruit. And this, Momo fruit, was taken away by Blackbeard, and now Blackbeard has become a double demon fruit power. At the same time, Blackbeard was delighted that he had the help of two strong men, Bullet and the Red Earl, in the face of frequent changes in this war. These two originally proud and strong men finally chose to join the Blackbeard pirates and find a shelter temporarily, of course. The two only admitted that they were foreign aid, and did not admit that they belonged to Blackbeard's direct subordinates. Blackbeard doesn't mind this, as Bullet and the Red Earl are unexpected gains, so foreign aid is fine. At the same time, the Red Earl also stopped by to get the Devil Fruit, the Phantom Beast vampire form, which he obtained but did not eat. This Devil Fruit can rejuvenate him as long as he absorbs other people's blood, the Lone Wolf, back then. On the revolutionary side, Dragon contacted Vegapunk on his way back. Vegapunk was dissatisfied with the Revolutionary Army's attack. If Marine found out that the Revolutionary Army had a secret connection with him, then Vegapunk would no longer have such good conditions. Let alone being held accountable and hunted down by Marine, he would have no chance to continue in the future. Research the monk's magical item. Long didn't care about this. They used any door to go to naval headquarters at a long distance. Marine didn't know that they used any door to go. Secondly, their Revolutionary Army didn't make a move, so nothing was exposed. By the way, Vegapunk, how is the Seraph's plan going? Dragon entered the point. With Monk's Seraphim core as the focus, the progress is much faster than before, and Jinbei will be born soon. Vegapunk replied. After thinking about it, Vegapunk changed his words. Monk's Blazing Angel series is called the S series. I won't call it the S series, I will change it to the X series. Advertisement. By the way, don't change the subject, Dragon. Vegapunk cursed suddenly. Next time if you act like this again, I won't cooperate with the Revolutionary Army secretly. I still want to continue researching on magical items, Batra earrings, air cannons. This time the new magical items are fascinating. Vegapunk's tone was very excited, that is, excited. The dragon did not respond to Vegapunk. Now he is thinking about where the Revolutionary Army will go next. I don't know Monk's attitude towards celestial dragons. Long muttered. If Monk doesn't have a good feeling about celestial dragons, maybe he can make a fuss from this. After the war came to an end, the excitement around the world was not as imagined. Because neither side actually had a result in this battle, the worst thing is that the 6th floor of Impel Down was breached, and more terrorist prisoners poured into the sea one after another. If it were changed to before, the world would definitely scold Marine, but now they can't. Because the world today has seen the strength of Marine, one Marine can deal with the 4 imperial groups, plus the powerful and prisoners of the old era. This kind of combat power can be said to have reached its peak in more than 800 years, so what else can we say? The most eye-catching thing is this time Monk's magical item, the Batra earrings. This magical item allows Marine to have a superpower, one person fighting against several top players in the world. 263 people have thoroughly recognized the changes brought about by Monk's magical item. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. Today Marineford is barely repairable, a broken island. In the past few days, Marine has been dealing with various problems left over from the war, so he has no intention of finding Monk for fishing. On Sengoku's side, after settling the matter at hand, he started the Marine high-level meeting. This meeting was also notified to Monk. Originally, I didn't want to go, after all, he was not a senior member of Marine, and secondly, I was too lazy to go. But Sengoku said that there is something important to discuss with him, there is no way. Monk just needs to come forward. And just as the Marine high-level meeting was about to start, Holy Land Mariajoy, between powers, and 5 elders were also starting their own meetings in full swing. No, Roger must die, the second elder shouted. That's right, the secrets of the D family, and the secrets that have been blank for 100 years must not be passed on. The third elder in white kimono also strongly agreed with the second elder's statement. That man knows that everything in this world is human, he must die. The fourth elder hesitated. Now Roger is considered a member of Marine, if Roger dies, will Marine agree? No, to be precise, Roger is not from Marine, but from Sengoku's nephew Monk. I don't remember, that kid Monk joined the army. This sentence cannot be said in this way. With Sengoku's relationship, Monk belongs to Marine's people, and Roger naturally belongs to Marine's people. The fifth elder expressed his opinion. I don't think we should push too hard, as long as Roger signs a non-disclosure agreement and is forbidden to tell the secrets of Raftel, the D family, these secrets, it will be fine. It's a great way to win people over. It's just nonsense. The second elder disagreed. For me, the only thing I can keep secret is death, and the dead will not speak. The elders of the 5 elders had a heated discussion on the issue of Roger. After a while, the great elder interrupted the quarrel between the 4. Everyone, there is no need to continue arguing. I have a good idea. After hearing the words, the 4 elders all looked at the great elder. The great elder said lightly, summon Monk and give Monk the name of celestial dragons. As long as he agrees, we will not kill Roger and let him stay in the Holy Land. If you don't want to, then kill Roger, and at the same time find a reason to put Monk under house arrest in the Holy Land. Only the power we can control is a good power. Advertisement. Chapter 146 Recommend Monk to be Marshal. Advertisement. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. In the conference room that was simply built around, Marine was sitting around a conference table that looked a bit stretched. There is really no way, no part of the current naval headquarters is complete, and we can only make do with it. The Marine executives were silent one by one, basically all the senior executives had arrived, there was only one person, and that was Monk. Everyone is used to Monk being late. Monk is punctual. It seems that if this guy doesn't slow down a little, he will feel bad. In the past, all the Marine executives would be dissatisfied, but now no one says no, they are all silently waiting for Monk to show up. After all, it was thanks to Monk that they were still able to sit here in this war. His magical item gave Marine the greatest combat power ever. And at this moment, in the silent room, a figure finally came in from the door. A group of Marine executives turned their heads and saw the figure of Monk appearing in front of the gate. Sorry, I'm late. Monk entered from the doorway with a smile. Not only Monk came in, but also Zephyr, Momosugi and Hina. But now Snake, Big Mom and Roger are added. The former, One Piece, now appeared in the Marine high-level meeting, which made Marine and others look at each other after seeing Roger, a little noncommittal. Their Marine high-level meeting, let Roger come to listen. Is it really good? Everyone couldn't help turning their heads to look at Sengoku, who was at the head, and Sengoku, the person involved, seemed to be struggling with this issue, and seemed a little silent. But Marine didn't speak, but Roger spoke first. It's really different. I think that when I was in the sea, you guys kept trying to catch me, but now you follow the master to attend your meeting. By the way, my master has refused, do you think you still always invite my master? Roger showed his trademark smile, glanced at the Marine on the scene, and finally landed on Sengoku. What, Sengoku? You old guys can't do without my master. The current Marine can only rely on my master. Although Roger said that he was controlled by the Master Servant sticker, and obeyed Monk, but the magical item, Master Servant sticker, did not change Roger's character. Therefore, the former, One Piece, seized something to hate, so he kept attacking Marine, no matter how he used to be an enemy. Listening to Roger's words, this made all the Marine executives look very bad. Although they are actually not disgusted that their current Marine relies on Monk's magical items, after all, this is indeed the case, and secondly, magical items themselves are powerful and can be relied on. Nature is to rely on. But it was different when this sentence came out of Roger's mouth. The Marine executives wanted to tear Roger's mouth apart. As an old enemy with Roger, Garp knew Roger's mouth very well, and immediately sneered, Roger, your mouth is still not clean. If it weren't for you being a member of Monk now, I'm afraid you would be torn apart by our Marine here. I don't need too many people. I'm enough alone. Let you see the horror of my Nika form, and then don't beg for mercy. As if leaving Garp aside, Roger couldn't help but sneered back and said, Garp, are you ashamed to say that? Is this how you do what I asked you to do? My son Ace was sent to be executed. Roger's words made many Marine generals look at Garp in surprise. Some of their higher-ups don't know about this. It turns out that Ace was entrusted to Garp by Roger, no wonder Marine couldn't find Ace's whereabouts. In the first part, Sengoku coughed and interrupted Roger to continue breaking the news. Just now I was hesitant to let Roger go out, now I have another excuse. Monk, backquote. Sengoku looked at his nephew and said in a deep voice, let Roger go out, otherwise this guy is talking too much. It's not good for some of our secrets to be heard by him. Sengoku's attitude towards Monk is completely different now, and he used to be regarded as a child, his own junior. However, now it is more of an equal relationship, which is equivalent to the attitude towards Admiral. Advertisement. Monk smiled and found a seat to sit down. In fact, there is nothing to choose. The position reserved for Monk is another position opposite to the Prime Minister on Sengoku. This position is also the core. For Monk, who has no position in the army, sitting in this special position, all the generals present seemed to think it was very normal, and no one thought it was wrong. It's okay. Monk waved his hand. Roger, come on, it's almost done, stop twittering. Monk opened his mouth, Roger shut up immediately, and stood silently behind Monk. It can be said that looking at the last row of Monk in the audience, even Marshal Marine did not have a row of Monk. There are two beauties on the left and right behind him, Momosugi and Hina seem to be protectors on the left and right, and behind him are the former Marshal Zephyr, One Piece, Roger, Snake, and Auntie. 4 top-level masters are in the formation, and this force looks at the sea, and it can already form a combat force comparable to the 4 Emperor's regiment. As for his uncle asking Roger to go out, Monk refused, and now Roger is a stable factor as long as Monk Conqueror's Haki suppresses him, no problem at all. Seeing that Monk refused, Sengoku didn't continue to say anything. He said lightly, that's fine. Now that the staff is here, the meeting can begin. Sengoku announces conference multi-start. The first thing to discuss is the transfer of naval headquarters. Marineford is already difficult to repair. Even if it really needs to be repaired, it will take several years, which is a long process. So naval headquarters can only be migrated to other islands. Where do you think naval headquarters should be relocated? The Sabayati Islands are good. Vice Admiral, the Flying Squirrel, gave his answer. Where is the only way for Marine to enter the New World? The establishment of naval headquarters there will definitely be able to deter pirates and at the same time change the law and order in that place. Sabayati Archipelago is indeed a good choice. Ghost Spider also expressed his opinion. The two vice admirals were not seriously injured, and this time Marine actually lost a lot of backbones. Then the other generals also expressed their opinions. Akainu is more direct, intending to set up naval headquarters in the G5 distribution, intending to penetrate Marine's influence into New World. Pirates in this world are not only the four emperors, but also many other pirate groups. These pirate groups are also factors that endanger the stability of the sea. Monk yawned again and again, not interested in the topic at all. If you want me to say, naval headquarters is set up directly in the Holy Land Mariajoy, drive those celestial dragons away, and let the group of old guys in the right make room for us. These words were like a thunderbolt from the blue, shocking everyone present with astonishment. Everyone looked at Monk dumbfounded, shocked by his words. Is this too dare to say? Setting up the naval headquarters in the Holy Land of Mariajoy and driving the celestial dragons away. Such an idea was beyond their imagination. In the crowd, Garp laughed, and Roger behind him also laughed loudly. Master is right. The celestial dragons have no value to this world at all, but they enjoy the huge wealth and resources of this world. They should have gone away long ago. For a while, many topics in the meeting went in an uncontrollable direction. If the world government heard about this, it would be a serious crime. No one in the meeting room has ever dared to directly put celestial dragons and the world's highest nobles on the table. Sengoku at the top was speechless. He coughed lightly and said in a deep voice, Monk, shut up. Some words are not what you want to say, just say what you want, understand? Monk doesn't mind waving, he's from the 21st century, and he doesn't care. In his eyes, celestial dragons are really a group of moths. He is not jealous of the rich, but celestial dragons are crazy, exploiting ordinary people, and killing slaves. As a human being with normal thinking, I would be dissatisfied with such behavior. His life principle is to play bad, but bad performance does not mean immoral. Perhaps this is the most normal kind of person. A person is not a person if he has a heart and no heart. So Monk's life principles are bad, and he also hates celestial dragons. In the end, naval headquarters was tentatively settled in the G5 branch according to Akainu's proposal. Marine's next plan is to go deep into the New World, rectify this piece of sea, and end the era of great navigation. Monk doesn't care about this, after all he has found a more comfortable place, that is the Golden City. Advertisement. The current Golden Emperor is so kind to Monk, he gave Monk and others a luxurious and ultimate room. After the first topic is over, the next step is the main content this time. Sengoku at the top looked at everyone and said, Everyone, I will submit an application for dismissal to Kong. All the generals present were once again stunned. Marshal, you want to dismiss the position of Marshal. We are just Marine now ushering in. Sengoku interrupted with a wave of his hand, I'm too old to do what I want. The faces of all the generals around were full of reluctance and persuasion. And 3 Admiral, Garp these people are noncommittal. On Zephyr's side, he didn't say anything, because now he only cares about Monk's affairs, and he doesn't plan to take care of Marine's affairs. The death of the 2 students made Zephyr completely cut off the last relationship with Marine, and now he just wants to stay with Monk and his family. Monk has no opinion on Sengoku's dismissal. His idea is very simple. In the future, if the Marine needs it, he will fish for the Marine, as long as he pays the money, and he will prostitute for nothing. On his side, relying on the management of the Golden Emperor in the Golden City, it is enough to save money for fishing from time to time. With many strong people by his side, Monk can sit back and relax in the days to come and live a comfortable life of his own. However, Sengoku's next words broke Monk's fantasy. I will recommend Monk to Kong as the new Marine Marshal. I trust Monk, my nephew, to bring Marine new life. Monk was in a daze. He finally understood why his uncle had forced him to come here. The co-authoring was because of this matter. How can it be? Monk's life principle is to be bad, how could he choose to become the new Marshal? The thought of being in charge of the Marine above the entire sea is a headache. Monk resolutely refuses. However, he saw the extremely eager eyes of the Marine generals present. Akainu next to Sengoku crossed his hands, the corners of his mouth money raised, and sneered, Marshal, let a person of Monk's age become a Marshal, you really dare to think, even. Dare to do it, but I have nothing to say. Akainu's arrogance was completely lacking in front of Monk. Yo, Kizaru rubbed his fingernails and said, I have no objection. Most of the Marine's funds are now spent on post-war pacification and reconstruction, and there is no extra funds to buy 2 magical items such as air cannons and Batra earrings. I really want to continue to fit together. Because the air cannon and the Batra earrings are magical items that Monk fished with his own money, so they belong to him. Marine returned the air cannon and Batra earrings to Monk after the war. Of course, Marine intends to acquire these 2 magical items, but the reconstruction after the war, and the appeasement of the sacrificed soldiers have made Marine's funds empty, and it is impossible to purchase them. 0. Aokiji glanced at Kizaru indifferently. Kizaru, don't let me combine with you in the future. He's almost depressed to death, making Kizaru's obscene expression on his face, completely ruining the image. Okay. So the current Aokiji doesn't want to merge with Kizaru even if he dies. 3 Admiral has no opinion on Sengoku's desire to make Monk a new generation of martial. And the other generals present also expressed their support, even if Monk is still a brat, even if Monk is not a member of Marine, even. But his value, the benefits of his devil fruit ability to Marine, and the powerful Conqueror's Haki displayed by Monk, made the Marine generals present all respect Monk. For Martial Marine, no comments. Asterisk 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 O. Advertisement. Chapter 147A Decision Between Rights, invite Monk to become Celestial Dragons. Advertisement. Monk did not expect that the main purpose of his uncle asking him to come this time was to make him a martial. Martial Marine can be said to be the absolute top in this world. The generals around had no opinion on the marshal's recommendation at all. Garp laughed. I originally thought about resigning myself, but after Sengoku told me that I would recommend you as marshal, I gave up the idea. Monk, you new generation take over Marine. Marine must be very interesting, so I plan to continue to watch Marine go. I want to see what the future of Marine will be like. Since Ace was rescued, Luffy also followed Redhead, Whitebeard and others to escape, and the veteran's mood suddenly improved a lot. The famous scene where Garp is going to kill Akainu did not appear. Monk originally wanted to refuse directly, but after seeing the eager eyes of the Marine generals around him, he softened his heart. Now Monk finally understands why Sengoku asked himself to attend the meeting, and by the way, in this situation, he said that he would become the Marine Marshal. The co-authoring is to make it difficult for him to refuse. Apparently, Sengoku understands one thing, that is, everyone in Marine today is not disgusted with him, and even makes himself a member of Marine with great enthusiasm, even for such a high position as Marshal. The current Monk is not good at rejecting the eyes of the Marine generals. But this seriously violated Monk's principles, and after a long silence, he still refused. However, Monk refused, and the Marine generals present were not discouraged and continued to persuade Monk. Monk, just promise. Yes, the position of Marshal is very suitable for you. It should be said that it is you, there is no one who is more suitable for the position of Marshal than you. A group of generals tried their best to persuade them. However, at this moment, a cold voice sounded. Monk must not become the Marine Marshal. The sound was so decisive that everyone present was very surprised. The Marine generals looked at each other, including Monk and others, and saw 3 guys wearing 300 white robes and strange masks on their faces. CP0. Why does CP Spy appear here? Asterisk 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 asterisk. This group of people who appeared suddenly, he ran as the CP Spy, the leader is not Rob Lucci. After all, the Summit War has just ended, and it was 2 years ago. At this time, he is probably still being hunted down. The head of the CPO captain is a guy Monk doesn't know, but it doesn't matter, the important thing is what he just said, Monk can't become the Marine Marshal. This made the Marine generals present couldn't help frowning. Akainu said in a low voice, what did you just say? The CP Spy captain continued to speak calmly, Monk must not become the Marine Marshal. Akainu narrowed his eyes, the internal affairs of our Marine, your CP espionage intervention, has crossed the line, right? Yo, when is it your CP Spy's turn to deal with the Marine matter? Kizaru continued to grind his fingers. Hurry up and get the hell out of this old man, otherwise, this old man will get angry, and even I will be scared. Garp said rudely. The CP spy agents who surrounded the conference room were dissatisfied with Garp's words. Everyone frowned, and some even spoke coldly. Vice Admiral is not qualified to speak now. Seeing that the atmosphere at the scene was a little anxious, the CP spy captain interrupted. Generals, this is not our CP spy meddling in your Marine affairs. I naturally understand that CP Intelligence and Marine belong to the 3 major organizations of the world government, and they do not interfere with each other and are independent of each other. However, there is a premise here, that is, if there is no order issued by the highest authority, once an order is issued, the CPO is directly under the authority, and its status and identity are higher than anyone in your Marine, including the Marine Marshal. As soon as this sentence came out, the Marine generals present fell silent. Because what the CP spy captain said is not wrong at all, in normal times, everyone does not violate the law, but under special circumstances, the highest commander of the CPO, that is, the CP spy captain's power is above the Marshal, and he is on the same level as the Commander-in-Chief Kong. The monk at the top touched his chin. He really didn't understand the rights in this world carefully. Before that, he had been waiting for him in the Marine. This uncle is the sky in the Marine. So he didn't expect that the power of the dignified Marshal Marine was not as high as that of the captain of the CP spy. But soon Monk thought that Rob Lucci had been hanging around the Celestial Dragons, which was equivalent to a bodyguard, and he thought it was quite reasonable. Advertisement. Because it is the dog leg of Celestial Dragons. Soon, Monk no longer thought about these things, but watched silently. He wanted to see why the CPU came here this time. And what does it mean to sternly refuse to become a Marine Marshal? The words of the CP spy captain silenced the generals present. Although the generals were dissatisfied, they had no choice but to do anything. They are a regular army and a member of the current power system, so they must act in accordance with the rules. The purpose of coming here this time is also very simple, we want to take away Gall D. Roger. The CP spy captain continued. Monk frowned immediately, and before he could speak, the CP spy captain continued. At the same time, the power also asked us to take Mr. Monk to the Holy Land Mariajoy as a guest. The words of the CP spy captain made all the generals present look at Monk, and the face of Sengoku at the head of the hill suddenly changed. He immediately got up and said in a stern tone, I refuse. As Monk's uncle, I have the right to make decisions. As a subject of the power, you have no right to refuse. The Sengoku power is already very dissatisfied with your repeated prevarication. If it weren't for the war, we would have come to naval headquarters. This time you didn't say anything, we were responsible for taking Mr. Monk and Roger. And this is not a bad thing for Mr. Monk. We told me that the reason for inviting Mr. Monk this time is to make him celestial dragons. As long as he is willing, Mr. Monk's surname will become the highest nobleman in the world in the future, and Sengoku. The CP spy captain glanced at Sengoku, and said calmly, you will also drag Mr. Monk's blessing and become a world noble. From now on, you can live in the Holy Land Mariajoy. The words of the CP spy captain made all the generals present stunned. Akainu's pupils dilated, Kizaru let out a, yo, very surprised, Aokiji was noncommittal. Garp frowned, Crane's face was noncommittal, and he glanced at Monk from the corner of his eye. Unexpectedly, in order to win over Monk, the world government actually made such an arrangement, making Monk the highest nobleman in the world and directly enjoying the highest privilege in the world. This is a temptation that no one in this world can refuse, which means that the family will be rich and prosperous in the future, and will have the highest combat power as bodyguards, ordering Marine Admiral at any time. Absolute glory. Although many people are dissatisfied with celestial dragons, many people are actually moved when they are expected to become the highest nobles in the world. This is human nature, this is people. Of course there are those who would sneer, bade, but such people are too few. However, Monk is such a person, as if he heard some joke, he twice. With a look of surprise, yo, I really didn't expect those old guys from Five Elders to work so hard to win me over. Celestial dragons, will they agree? Monk's words made the expressions of the generals present very stiff. Flying squirrels, ghost spiders and other generals stared at Monk with wide eyes. What did Monk say just now? Five Elders, those old guys. Although it is not wrong, the Five Elders are indeed a few old guys, but what Monk said is too straightforward, right? And it's taboo to be disrespectful to those in power. The CP spy agents looked at each other in bewilderment, and the faces of several CPOs were even more stiff and extremely ugly. The CP spy captain said coldly, Mr. Monk, please pay attention to your words. Monk shrugged his shoulders, and he said in a deep voice, didn't you say that the authority said that as long as I agree, I will immediately become a celestial dragons? Then the celestial dragons, being the highest nobles in the world, can't say that the Five Elders are a bunch of old guys. Anyway, I said, what do you want from me? Monk's words were said in one set, and several CP spies were stunned by what they said. The dissatisfaction on the original face disappeared, because just now Monk said that as long as he said a word, then he is celestial dragons. In this way, Monk, as the world's highest nobleman, has a problem with disrespect between rights. It seems that there is no problem, even this is an internal issue of the highest power of the world government, outsiders like them. It seems that there is no way to point fingers. Advertisement. Even once Monk was in a bad mood and slapped them CP spy members, they had to suffer silently. For a while, the atmosphere at the scene became subtle. The CP spies who had a tough attitude changed one by one, and their attitudes began to become respectful and cautious. Monk snorted coldly in his heart, a group of lackeys. They are real lackeys, and now they dare not even say a fart. But Monk doesn't really want to become a nobleman in this world. Although there is nothing wrong with it, but thinking of becoming this group of scum, Monk doesn't like it. In the beginning, if Monk had this opportunity, he might become celestial dragons with a high probability. This is human nature. Monk never felt that he was not an ordinary person, whether he just wanted to mess up his life or other behaviors. In the final analysis, Monk was actually an ordinary person, but now he is different. Because he has the strength, and there are a group of powerful partners, Momosuke, Zephyr, Hina, and a group of subordinates who follow his orders, Roger, S. Snake and S. Ant. Now Monk has strength, and with strength, he has the capital to choose and can make decisions on his own. He doesn't want to be celestial dragons, that's what deception brings. But Monk didn't say it directly, and now he has to use celestial dragons to get some more secret information. Monk looked at Captain CP and asked, what did the Five Elders want you to do with Roger? The CP spy captain hesitated for a while, and said in a humble and respectful voice, Roger, as a person who has been to Raftel, as a demon who knows that he should not know the secret, he must be restrained by the world government. Of course, he belongs to you, Master Monk, and belongs to your slave. Now you only need to sign a confidentiality agreement with your rights, so your servant doesn't need to be too strict. Quote, however, I think there are many servants that can be provided for you to choose, Roger is best left to the power. Monk didn't answer right away, he understood the intention of those old fellows from the world government. This is to keep Roger silent. Say. Monk said that he didn't think about it too much, what is he most looking forward to is Hami. That is naturally a great secret treasure, the secret of this world and the truth of 100 years. Now the person who knows everything in this world has become his servant, and he forgot to ask. Monk couldn't help but licked his lips, then looked at Roger. The corner of his mouth outlined and said, Roger, what is the secret of the D family? What is the history of the world gap year? After a pause, after thinking about it, Monk said in another way, well, just tell me everything you know. Monk's words made the audience quiet, and the whole air seemed to freeze for a moment, becoming as viscous as ultimate. Sengoku at the top looked at his nephew with wide eyes, his palms were trembling. What did my nephew just say? Akainu was not calm anymore, his breathing became a little short of breath. Seriously, this kind of thing is okay to say. Even celestial dragons can't easily reveal the truth of this period of history, right? Kizaru's toad glasses were already crooked in shock, as if he had never heard of it. Aokiji's pupils trembled, and his lips squirmed to speak, but he didn't say anything. Cold sweat broke out on the foreheads of the generals present, and their hearts beat violently. The truth of this world. Under the masks of the three of CP0, there was a look of astonishment and being at a loss, but he soon realized that when he became a CP spy, the rights gave them special rights. The CP spy captain narrowed his eyes, and then tightened his eyes, as if he had made up his mind. In the next moment, he moved quickly, the target was Roger, and he wanted to kill Roger. As long as Roger is dead, the secrets will be sealed again. Advertisement. Chapter 148. The world government has deceived you for 800 years. Advertisement. After Monk asked Roger about all the secrets about the world he knew after arriving in Raftel, the CPO captain present moved. Monk was specially invited by the 5 elders to become the celestial dragons. CP spies could not move Monk, because what Monk said just now made them think that Monk had become the celestial dragons. If so, they cannot move now. Although it is said that Roger is Monk's slave, these CP spies cannot touch Roger, but special cases are treated specially. Just now when CP was hesitating about espionage, he was thinking about a question, that is, what he told them about the rights, all those who tried to expose the 100-year blank, no matter who they were, they would be wiped out. So the captain of the CPO didn't hesitate, yes Roger did it. The Marine generals present felt that the CPO captain was moving, but their positions were lower than this captain, and it was difficult for them to do anything, or they couldn't do anything. Even Akainu, he didn't move, he couldn't sit in their position and couldn't help himself. However, Monk doesn't care about these, since CP0 dares to move, then he dares to move. Monk didn't think about it at all, although his observation Haki was just like that, and didn't add much omnipotence to it, but it was enough for him to make the necessary reaction in the first place. At the next moment when the CP spy captain moved, Monk also moved. What are you kidding? Someone who wants to kill him in front of him. Let's not talk about other things, let's talk about the investment in Roger, time wrap skin 10 billion berries, and master servant stickers 10 billion berries. Both items are god level, that is, the cost of 20 billion Baileys. Today's huge investment is what the world government wants to kill. The pupils of the CP spy captain contracted suddenly. He didn't expect that after he moved, Monk would also move. Moreover, Monk obviously made a deadly move, directly grabbing his throat. Monk, stop. Sengoku shouted suddenly, and he came to Monk's side in the blink of an eye at the top of the conference table. Monk's eyes are sharp, and Haki is already wrapped around his fingers. CP intelligence captain's pupils have been replaced by fear, because Monk's fingers wrapped around Haki are like the sharpest daggers in the world. But he soon felt the force pull him back, narrowly avoiding Monk's fatal blow in this situation. He ran with Sengoku who rescued the CP spy captain. At the same time, Sengoku used armament Haki to hold Monk's attack, but felt severe pain from his palm. Monk easily broke through him, which is normal. The stronger the Conqueror's Haki, the stronger the attack after the Conqueror's Haki is wrapped. Yamato is sharper. The CP spy captain retreated again and again, because he just escaped from Shinigami's hands and his soul softened, and he fell to the ground. Because of the mask, he said that he couldn't see his expression, but he knew that the expression under his mask was probably exactly the same color as his mask, only pale. He touched his neck, there was already a bloodstain there, fortunately he was pulled away by Sengoku in time, thus avoiding death, otherwise, he would have died. Sengoku turned his head and saw that the CP spy captain was fine, he was relieved. Then he looked at Monk, feeling a little complicated. He didn't expect his nephew to strike so ruthlessly, the CPO captain in front of him would be killed in one blow. He was the CPO captain, the highest commander of CP intelligence, and his status was equivalent to that of Kong. If he was killed by Monk, it would be a problem. Monk didn't care, and his tone was a little cold. Roger is my man, whoever dares to move will pay the price. Behind Momosuke, Hina looked at each other, and both saw the complexity in each other's eyes. It was the first time for them to see such a cold-blooded side of Monk. Monk did make shots a few times before, Jack that time, Golden City that time, but the situation at that time was different. Strictly speaking, the current CP spy captain is one of his own, and belongs to the world government just like their marine, and now Monk is killing him. If Sengoku hadn't made the move, Momosuke and Hina would have no doubt that the CP spy captain is dead. The atmosphere at the scene became a little heavy, and no one thought that Monk would make such a decisive move, wanting to kill the CP spy captain. And at this moment, a hearty laugh sounded, ha 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 ha. Master, in fact, you don't need to make a move. It's too early for these little guys to kill me. Roger looks only in his 50s now, mainly due to the use of time-wrapped skins. The resurrection of his appearance is what he looked like when he was executed, but in fact, strictly speaking, he is close to the age of Rayleigh and Whitebeard. So there is nothing wrong with calling people like CP spies little guys. The face under the mask of the spy captain of CP became a little gloomy. He looked at Monk and said in a low voice, "Monk. My lord, it's not appropriate for you to take action against me. The current monk is the person specially invited by 5 elders to become the celestial dragons, and the CP spy really can't do anything to Monk. Even if he was really killed just now, it is estimated that the power will punish Marine, and it will not fall on Monk's head. This is why Sengoku will take action immediately to avoid trouble for Marine." Advertisement. Monk didn't care about this, and he didn't say anything more about Sengoku's attempt to stop him. In fact, at this step, he can also think that his uncle is very rigid, sticks to the rules, and will never be ignored. That's why Monk made such a fierce move, of course. In case Sengoku didn't have time to stop it, and the CP spy captain was killed by himself, he would kill him. Monk didn't care. People like CP spy have already put their heads on their belts. There's nothing wrong with it, my people, as long as they dare to move, they will have to pay the price. Monk sat back in his seat, and then said lightly. He couldn't hear any emotional changes, as if the CP intelligence captain was someone he could kill at will. The CP spy captain was upset to ultimate, but he could only admit it. Rubbing his neck, as the captain of CPO, he still has strength, at least comparable to Marine Admiral, of course. In a real frontal battle, Admiral is stronger than him in terms of destructive power. After all, the work of CP espionage itself is not the same as that of Marine. Marine is to catch pirates and engage in large-scale battles. The CP spy is mainly responsible for assassination, collecting intelligence, and helping the world government to deal with some things, so single combat and special combat methods will be stronger. The wound on his neck was no longer bleeding, and the CP spy captain slowly got up from the ground. Although he almost died, the result was good, at least it prevented Roger from telling the truth about this world. Naturally, he personally doesn't know what the truth of the world is, why the world government hides it. In short, as CPO, he must help the world government get rid of these uneasy factors. After the CP spy captain got up, he adjusted his mood, and then said to Monk, "Master Monk, since you have agreed to the conditions between rights, please go to the Holy Land Mariajoy with us now. There is something to talk to you between the rights, and as celestial dragons, you can't just stay outside, it will be very dangerous, of course. You are celestial dragons now, people in this world will salute you when they see you, and respect you, because the danger will not be too great. But you, stop talking nonsense." Monk got impatient, this guy really talks a lot. Do I have what it takes to agree to the 5 elders? Monk left that CP very, this sentence stunned the latter. There's none. Didn't Monk just say that he himself was the celestial dragons preselector invited by the 5 elders? Doesn't saying this mean that you agree to become celestial dragons? The CP spy captain was a little stunned, and he couldn't turn his head for a while, so he asked quickly, "Monk." This time he didn't address the adults, but directly asked the question, "What does this mean? Don't you agree to be celestial dragons?" The other Marine generals at the scene also looked at Monk, their faces full of confusion and bewilderment. They also thought Monk had agreed to become celestial dragons just now. What's going on now? Monk refused. These are celestial dragons, the highest nobles in the world, with absolute privileges. Monk refused. Even Sengoku couldn't help looking at his nephew, feeling that this nephew in front of him was so strange. "That's right, I declined, I don't want to be celestial dragons." Monk replied simply. This simply made the CP spy captain not know what to say for a while, and it took a few seconds for him to react. His tone became completely different from before. He was still respectful before, but after learning that Monk refused to become celestial dragons, not the identity of celestial dragons, the tone of the CP spy captain became low, and he took on the posture of a high-ranking person. "Ask for flowers. Since you refuse to become celestial dragons now, then you are an ordinary person," CP spy captain said in a low voice. "I just took action against the special intelligence personnel of the world government, and I have the right to take you directly. Furthermore, the orders issued to you by the powers cannot be refused by you." Hee. Monk chuckled, and looked playfully at the CP spy captain. He said, "If I refuse, what can you do now?" Advertisement. "And what about the old guys at 5 elders? You." The CPO captain was speechless for a while, he wanted to scold Monk, and wanted to attack Monk directly. But when he came here, he learned about Monk's situation, and the strength that Monk showed just now, so the CPO captain didn't dare to take a shot against Monk easily. He looked at Sengoku, looked at the generals present, and said in a low voice, "Sengoku, this is an order between the powers. Your nephew is now going to violate the order of the authority, don't you, as an elder, take any action. And the rest of you Marine, have you forgotten the rules? The CPO's highest intelligence agency handles affairs, and you all have to cooperate, and even contribute." None of the generals spoke a word, and now Monk has a very high status in their hearts. It is absolutely impossible for them to take action to suppress Monk, but what the CPO captain said is not wrong at all. Their Marine must cooperate with the CP espionage work, so they are caught in a dilemma. If that's the case, it's better not to speak. Are you guys planning to rebel? The CPO captain was furious at Marine's inaction. Believe it or not, I impeach you one by one. Sengoku only felt a headache, and the situation became more and more chaotic. Now he is still the Marshal of Marine, sitting in this position, he must come forward to resolve this matter. Sengoku spoke in a reassuring tone. "I will take care of Monk, please don't worry about your CP spies. Tomorrow I will take Monk to the Holy Land Mariajoy to meet the 5 elders, and you can report like this after you go back." "I'm not going, Uncle. Monk said, standing up. He stepped out slowly and walked towards the meeting room. When passing by CP to spy on the captain, Monk gave the captain a look that made the captain back again and again. Ah, this made Monk sneer. Times are different these days, understand? Monk teased. It's okay for those old guys to bully the weak. The only way to deal with people like me is to leave me alone, and don't try to control me. It's useless. Between rights, I won't go, you'd better go back and make it clear to those old guys. Correct. Monk thought of something. He said in a deep voice, I forgot to tell you one thing. Of course, not only to your CP spies, but also to everyone present. Actually, you have all been deceived by the world government. They have deceived you and the whole world for more than 800 years. Monk's words made the Marine generals present noncommittal, and looked at each other with puzzled expressions. The agents of the CP spy agency and others all looked solemnly, wondering what Monk was going to say. Could it be a secret that could not be revealed? Before Monk could speak, Sengoku said coldly, Monk, shut up. Go back to the house, don't get in the way here. Sengoku has a vague feeling that once Monk tells this secret, the world will be in chaos, and the whole world will set off turbulent waves and unprecedented events. Perhaps the world will be rewritten. If this is the case, things are far more troublesome than imagined. Now that the war has just ended, Marine can't afford any big incidents, so it's better for Monk not to speak out. Never mind. Monk waved his hand indifferently. Uncle, you'd better resign as soon as possible, and then we can live our lives in peace, and we don't care about the troublesome things in this world. I have found a good place to retire. Monk left the meeting room while talking. At the scene, Zephyr, Momosuke, Hina, the two seraphs and Roger followed Mengshu and left the meeting room. Advertisement. Chapter 149 Monk's military influence. Advertisement. Monk left, followed by Zephyr, Momosuke, Hina, Seraphim, Roger and others also left the scene one after another. Since Sengoku told him to shut up, he just shut up, mainly because he didn't want to be too troublesome. You must know that once he tells the truth about the world government, there will be no benefit and endless troubles. World government will definitely not let him go. No matter how strong a person is, it is still a bit difficult to fight against the whole world. World government's 800-year background is not a joke, followed by I am an uncertain factor. Monk doesn't know whether the old guys in the power are strong, and the strength of I am who is hidden behind the scenes, who may have existed for more than 800 years and has mastered the entire world, is also a mystery. What's more, the technology of map cannon in IM's hands. Once he exposes the truth of this world, there will be a lot of troubles. It didn't fit the life Monk wanted. Now that his uncle is planning to retire, Monk has already planned his future life, staying in the Golden City, taking his uncle, Zephyr, Momosuke, Hina, Tuzu Waishi and Roger to retire. As long as he can live a good, comfortable life, the development of this world, and the follow-up story, he doesn't want to participate, he just needs to be a witness. This is Monk's plan for the rest of his life. Meeting room. Although Monk left with his own people, his words echoed in everyone's hearts. The world government is a liar, and has lied to the world for more than 800 years. What did the world government deceive? 163, to the whole world. What did Monk mean by this sentence? The generals present were all very concerned about this, which made each of them seem a little preoccupied now. If someone else said it, the generals would take it as a joke and wouldn't take it seriously, but this is what Monk said. The meaning of Monk's words is different. One is Monk's current status and influence among Marine generals, and the other is that Monk has several precedents before telling the truth that they, Marine executives, do not know. The most famous one is to reveal the identity of Ace, Roger's son, which shocked everyone. So Monk's words are very catchy. Seeing the silence of everyone present, the CP spy captain said slowly, Everyone, what are you thinking? Because of the words of a little kid, do you start to doubt the world government you have worked for many years? You have to know that the world government has allowed the world to have rules and order. It is the existence of the world government that allows the people of this world to live in peace. The CP spy captain began to brainwash the world government in the direction of justice and the highest point of morality. This trick is still very effective. After all, the reason why the people present will join Marine, isn't it because they believe in the world government? Isn't it for justice? Once they doubt the world government, to be honest, it shows that their effectiveness over the years has become a joke. Most people don't want to make themselves a joke. After the CP spy captain finished speaking, he stopped dwelling on this topic, changed the topic, looked at Sengoku and said, Sengoku, this is the nephew you disciplined. There is no one in sight, no rules, if many people are like him, what kind of darkness will this world fall into? Sengoku cast a glance at the CP spy captain, and said calmly, I know it well, I have been able to manage Marine for so many years, you have no right to question me. CP spy captain frowned, a little displeased with Sengoku's words. Sengoku, although you are the Marine Marshal, you have to understand that I am your upper echelon. The attitude of speaking should not be like this. After a pause, the CP spy captain didn't seem to want to continue this topic. You said that you will bring Monk to the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow, can you do what you say? If it can't be done, then our CP spy and you Marine can only resort to force. And at this moment, Garp got up, his expression was a bit cursing, hey. It's just after the battle, so there are so many things going wrong. The old man is tired, and I don't want to listen to these things anymore. After speaking, Garp strode towards the door of the conference room. The CP spy captain suddenly said coldly, Garp, don't mess around. Why? Advertisement. If it is really suppressed by force, you have to help. Help your sister. This old man is just a vice admiral. There are so many people with higher positions than me at the scene, and they want me to act. Garp's words can be described as straightforward, his character and style of acting are like this. Ignoring the CP intelligence captain, he left directly without the slightest sloppiness. The CP intelligence captain's face was extremely livid. Garp is really the same as the rumors say, he has no rules at all. Damn, this B****************, D, if he hadn't considered his status and influence in the army, he would have punished this arrogant guy long ago. Garp's departure, however, seemed to ignite the fuse. Akainu, the strongest admiral, also got up, and after a while of silence, walked away. Yo, I remember I have something to do, Kizaru said, getting up to leave. All the marine generals at the scene began to find trouble and leave. Obviously, after the CP spy captain said that if Monk refused to obey, he would be suppressed by force and Marine must assist, the generals showed their attitude. For Monk's status in the eyes of these people, the CP spy captain was shocked. He never thought that a kid who has no position in the army has such a terrifying influence. None of the Marine executives wanted to take a shot at Monk. The face of the CP spy captain became even more ugly. He looked at the people who had left, and said coldly, all of you, come back to me. However, no one paid any attention to the CP spy captain. The CP intelligence captain was very angry, and wanted the CP intelligence agents to stop these Marine generals. Isn't this too presumptuous? He is the commander directly under the authority. These generals are all lower than him. How can they treat him like this? Seeing that something was wrong, Sengoku finally spoke again. Hey, the war just ended, everyone is exhausted, and they do have important things to do, so it's normal for them to leave. Don't worry about Monk, I will not ignore the recruitment of the 5 elders, and I will take Monk to the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow. Sengoku has already given face to the CP spy captain, letting him keep his anger from venting. As Marine Marshal, Sengoku's guarantee is still very reliable. After some exchanges, this matter has been settled. Tomorrow Sengoku will take Monk and Roger to the Holy Land Mariajoy. CP spy captain's mission this time is considered complete, and he doesn't intend to continue to stay in naval headquarters. There is no way if he continues to stay here, he feels that he will be D off. In different organizations, no matter how big his position is, it is other people's territory, and he has no right to speak at all. After the CP spy agents left, only Sengoku, Suru and other sporadic generals were left in the conference room. Sengoku pinched his eyebrows a little irritably, the war is over, but troubles are still going on. I can't help it. Who told Monk that he is too good and self-reliant? Crane opened his mouth lightly. Excellent people often have strong ideas, coupled with the special devil fruit ability, which makes today's Monk too dazzling. We Marine all want to control the power of Monk, let alone the world government. Sengoku shook his head and laughed, can I take this as a compliment? It's your nephew, not you, Sengoku. Suru replied also directly. Instead of this topic, Crane changed the subject and said, speaking of Sengoku, are you really planning to take Monk to the Holy Land of Mariajoy tomorrow? Yeah, Sengoku nodded. Bringing Monk to the elders of the Holy Land Mariajoy will at least dispel most of their concerns. For the sake of my Marine Marshal, at least the 5 elders won't press too hard, and at most let Monk become an employed member of the world government. Since the 5 elders have the idea of making Monk a celestial dragon, why don't you want to persuade Monk to become a celestial dragon? Crane asked. Perhaps becoming celestial dragons is his best choice, and it can even bring great benefits to you and the descendants of this surname. Quote. Sengoku was silent, and after a while, he spoke lightly. Advertisement. If I become celestial dragons, I'll be laughed at by Garp. 0 inches. Suru cast a deep glance at Sengoku, and then sighed, I really can't understand what you guys are thinking. In my case, I wish I could become celestial dragons. It will be of endless benefit to me and to my descendants. The meeting room fell into silence, and I don't know how long it took. Crane spoke again, and said in a deep voice, speaking of what Monk just said, don't you care? The world government has cheated the world, what is it cheating? I don't know, and I don't want to know, Suru, there is no need to mention this matter. Sengoku said. No matter what lies to us, we just need to know that the world needs an official organization called world government. Once the influence and prestige of the huge central authority, the world government, is completely disintegrated, I can't imagine what that kind of world will be like. The Crane is also silent, indeed, such a world is unimaginable. Perhaps this is even greater than the impact of the Age of Discovery, which will affect the entire world, causing various wars to break out in various parts of the world, and causing the loss of life. That's something Sengoku doesn't want to see, so it's better not to choose to know the truth. At the same time, on the side of the Golden City, in the office of the building on the current floor. Hey, Boss Monk, would you like some tea? This is the finest tea from East Blue. Tezzolo lost all pretensions and respected Monk. It's not that he was frightened by Monk or afraid of Monk, but that Monk promised him one thing, after catching Time Wrap Skin, he will help him revive his girlfriend, Del. With this premise, Tezzoro has now promoted Monk to the altar, completely becoming Monk's younger brother. The Golden City is now considered Monk's property in a practical sense. Of course, with money, Monk can't take as much as he wants, and he needs to consider maintaining some necessary expenses maintaining the operation of the Golden City so that sustainable development can be achieved. The money that Monk can get from Tesoro now is more like a dividend, and he can get about 50 billion pele every month. This is an extremely frightening amount, even Tesoro's own monthly expenses are not so much. Come to this world. In less than 3 months, Monk has become the top richest man with a monthly income of 50 billion Baileys. Although it seems like a lot, it is actually only 5 times of God-level fishing. Is there tea from East Blue? Let me see, I haven't been back to 0.4 for a long time. Garp was delighted after hearing this. He hurried forward. Several senior executives of Myriad Marine were present: Garp, Akainu, Kizaru and Aokiji. Hey, Garp, haven't you tasted these medicines? Roger also leaned closer. Don't say that you are from East Blue in the future. I taste this tea every day. It is absolutely excellent. Who says I haven't tasted it? I'm just too lazy to remember the name. Garp and Roger bicker on a daily basis. On Tesoro's side, while pouring tea for Monk, he asked, by the way, Boss Monk, when will you take me fishing? Monk smiled and said, tomorrow, let's see where to go fishing tomorrow, and I will take you to go fishing. Tesoro was ecstatic after hearing the words. But soon his face was a little depressed, and he asked, by the way, Boss Monk, it must be 20 billion Baileys once to fish time-wrapped skin. In this way, he can only fish about 2 times a month, and the probability of getting time-wrapped skin is too low. Monk accepted the good East Blue tea from Tesoro, and said calmly, it's okay, as long as you behave well, I can give it to you if I fish it. After Tesoro heard the words, his face was stained with joy, and he kept thanking Monk. His greatest wish in this life is to live happily ever after with Stella. And when the atmosphere was very harmonious, Akainu couldn't help asking, Monk, what you just said that the world government deceived us in the world, what do you mean? Question mark quote. Asterisk 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 go. Advertisement. Chapter 150 Go Fishing in the Holy Land. Advertisement. Akainu asked a question that had been puzzling him since the very beginning. That is what Monk said just now, that the world government deceived them. What does it mean to deceive the world? As absolute justice, Akainu can be said to be the most hardworking person in Marine, who is serious about working for the world government, in order to eliminate pirates. But now that Monk said such a sentence, Akainu cared very much. Surrounded by Kizaru pouted and looked at Monk from the corner of the eye, Aokiji also paid attention to Monk calmly. The reason why the 3 of them, Admiral, came here was mainly to understand what Monk hadn't finished talking about just now. What did the world government deceive them about? Roger and Garp, who were talking to each other, also fell silent, looked at Akainu, and finally landed on Monk. They also want to know the truth. Besides Zephyr, Momosugi and Hina were silent and stayed quietly. Not to mention the 2 seraphs, they don't care about the truth of this world, they only know that they just need to obey Monk's orders, the rest is food. Tesoro, who was watching Monk drinking tea, felt something was wrong with the atmosphere. Tesoro couldn't help but feel a little helpless. The world government deceived us. Deceived the world. What the hell do you mean? Tesoro was a little confused, and the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became dignified and viscous. He instinctively sensed that Akainu had just asked an extremely serious matter, and this matter was likely to involve the core secrets of the world government. Nima. Tesoro was shocked. Should he avoid it? Because if you know some of the secrets of the world government, you will be obliterated, right? Tesoro was a little helpless. Should I avoid it? He seemed a little cramped and timid, but a monk at times. Monk didn't care, chuckled and said, it doesn't matter, you can avoid it if you want to, and listen to it if you want to. After finishing speaking, he ignored Tesoro, but looked at Akainu, and then scanned the scene, and said indifferently, are you sure you want to know? Aren't you 10 afraid that once you know the truth at the core of this world, you and others will not be able to accept it? It doesn't feel good to have a broken mind. The world government can be said to be the core trusted authority of the people of the world. Once the authority they trust does something that subverts their cognition, Song is afraid that none of the Japanese Marine executives present will be able to accept it. It's okay for Zephyr to say now that he essentially broke away from world government, broke away from Marine, and became a follower of Monk. So he belongs far less to Marine now than he does to Monk. In the previous words, once Zephyr knew the truth of the world government, he would become the commander of the new Marines just like the storyline, but the current Zephyr would not. When he learned the truth, he would feel sad at most, and would feel that everything he had done before was worthless. He completely lost hope in the world government and Marine, and only wanted to be with Monk. The same is generally true of Momosugi and Hina. But people like Akainu, Kizaru and Aokiji are different. Now they are still Marine Admiral, they are still under the command of the world government. Once they know the truth of the world, I'm afraid it will be a huge blow to them. Akainu may directly rush to question the rights of the world government. Kizaru reckons that he will not do anything too outrageous if he has a salary. Aokiji may resign and take the path of the original storyline, using his own actions to see the world clearly, to change the world. In this way, the whole world will be completely plunged into huge chaos, and the development of the situation will completely bring about uncontrollable. Monk can't even imagine such a development in the future once he tells the truth. But these are not things he considered. Anyway, since Akainu and the others want to know, then he agreed. And at this moment when Monk was about to tell the truth, a random door appeared. Sengoku came from the other side of the door. What is the truth? Now is not the time to tell, Monk. Sengoku said in a deep voice. The war has just ended, and the people of this world have just seen the strength of Marine and the hope for the future, so let this hope continue for the time being. Seeing his uncle appearing, Monk couldn't help but touched his nose and shrugged indifferently. Advertisement. Sengoku rubbed his eyebrows, then looked around and asked, what are you doing here? If you have something to do, do it quickly. Now the post-war reconstruction of the Marine is very busy. It's better for you admirals to sit here and drink tea. Tesoro saw that Marshal Marine also appeared with him, directly reducing his sense of existence to the minimum. He feels that since he met Monk, his life has completely changed. Unknowingly, he seems to be involved in various events at the top of the world, and has close contact with Marine Admiral, Marshal, and heroes. Tesoro didn't want to do this, because he became the controller of the Golden City, but it involved a lot of illegal activities. Marine executives often come and go here, or what should they do if they find out? But after thinking about it, Tesoro soon felt that there was nothing wrong. After all, the current Golden City is not his, but Monk's. If something goes wrong, Monk will definitely intervene, and then just let Monk handle it. Thinking of this, Tesoro immediately felt better, and he was not so nervous anymore. He suddenly felt that perhaps this was the benefit of having a big boss backing him up, someone would support him when the sky fell, so there was no need to worry about anything. 4 weeks and 3 Admiral didn't say anything, and of course he didn't leave. Sengoku didn't continue to talk about Akainu, Aokiji and Kizaru, looked at Monk and said, Monk, come with me to the Holy Land tomorrow. Don't refuse, with me here, there is no problem, anyway, I am still the Marine Marshal, and I haven't retired yet. Monk sat on the boss chair and blew on the tea in front of him, he wanted to refuse. Tomorrow he will take the Golden Emperor to go fishing, where is he free? However, at this time, Monk discovered that the fishing spot for the next day had been updated, and it was the Holy Land Mariajoy, or the lake in front of Pangu City. Monk raised his eyebrows immediately, he never thought it would be such a coincidence, wouldn't it mean that if he didn't go to the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow, he would go too? If so, then go for it. Monk suddenly changed his attitude, and while taking a sip of tea, he said, yes. I'll go to the Holy Land Mariajoy with you tomorrow, uncle. Sengoku couldn't help raising his eyebrows, he was a little surprised by Meng Shu's change of attitude. This kid had a face of resistance just now, why did he suddenly change his attitude 180 degrees? There is a drum in my heart, could it be that this kid is holding back something bad? Sengoku pondered, and couldn't help reminding, Monk, don't take some things in a playful manner. Don't think that now that you have strength, with strength, you can do whatever you want. I feel like I can control this world. No one in this world can do anything to me. Remember, this world cannot be changed by one person. There are many more strong people than you imagined, understand? When Sengoku said these words, Monk naturally knew what he meant, that is, to let himself not talk nonsense when he went to the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow. Monk waved his hands casually, prevaricating to his uncle, his attitude towards the 5 elders depends on how those old guys treat him. If the attitude is good, Monk will naturally not be too harsh on them, but if the attitude is bad, then he doesn't care. There are indeed many strong people in this world, such as Isaac, a ruthless man who combines technology and physical skills, and those monsters on the 7th floor of the submarine prison. Any one of them can wrestle with today's Monk. But Monk doesn't care about these, he has a lot of strong men, Zephyr with the strength of the Emperor, Momosuke with the strength of the Admiral, and S-Ant and Roger, S-Snake Chiwu and Hina are almost at the Shichibukai level. This will not be mentioned for the time being. In short, Monk not only has his own strength, but also a group of powerful people. Besides Bartra earrings and air cannons, what is he afraid of? So what attitude Monk wants him to use depends on what attitude 5 elders has towards him, it's that simple. Sengoku stopped talking about Monk, and said calmly, and Roger will go there tomorrow, of course Roger is yours, uncle, I will try my best to keep the 5 elders from taking action against Roger. Monk put down the teacup in his hand, and said calmly, yes, not only Roger, Zephyr, Momosuke, Hina, but also S-Ant and S-Snake, let's go with them. Hee, have you never been to the Holy Land Mariajoy? I'll take you there. Sengoku's head started hurting again, and he knew Monk would let them go together. But not only them, Monk paused and looked at Tesoro, and said, that's right. Tesoro, you go too. Tesoro, who was lowering his sense of existence, suddenly widened his eyes. He pointed to himself in astonishment, I will go too. Advertisement. Immediately, Tesoro smiled in embarrassment but politely said, I'd better forget it. What? Monk said angrily, aren't you going fishing? Don't you mean you won't revive your styles? Tesoro couldn't help breathing quickly, boss, you mean to go fishing in the Holy Land Maria tomorrow? That's right, Monk replied cheerfully. Everyone around looked at Monk in unison. They never thought that Monk would go to the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow to work and go fishing. Although I know it's not fishing, but this is too childish, right? Sengoku's head hurts more and more, he thinks Meng can't be reassuring once. Monk doesn't care about these, he just decided to go fishing in the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow. My dividend, this time is 50 billion Baileys, plus Tesoro is going to fish 60 billion Baileys for himself, and I can fish a total of 11 god-level fishes. Speaking of which, the fishing on the top made Monk's unparalleled level Conqueror's Haki go a lot of distance again. This made Monk start to think, should he choose other things that can be added next? For example, Observation Haki. Observation Haki Monk is still an intermediate level, and he cannot predict the future. After thinking about it, Monk decided to add half to Conqueror's Haki next time, and add the other half to Observation Haki 837. Raise the Observation Haki to the level where it can predict the future, and its own combat power can be greatly improved. Combat power and strength are two different concepts. It can be said that combat power includes one's own strength. Monk has already decided to go fishing in the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow. But the 5 old guys in the power room are increasingly dissatisfied with Monk's attitude. Then, that brat turned down the special invitation to join the Celestial Dragons. The second elder raised his voice, blowing his beard and staring. Yes, the opposite CP spy captain reported. That kid is too arrogant, right? Do you really think that with some strength, you can be self-willed? The third elder wiped the first-generation goosh in his hand, and said coldly. I don't think we need to treat that brat politely, and just order him to do things for our world government. If he refuses, we'll just suppress him. The second elder continued. Obviously, like the third elder, he belongs to the more radical faction. Don't be impulsive. It's normal for young people to be proud and arrogant. Didn't we also come here like this? The fourth elder obviously had a much better temper. The more arrogant we are, the tighter we push him, the more he rebounds. I think we should follow the previous plan and focus on wooing. As long as you give him sweets, glory, wealth, fame and fortune. I believe he will be taken down soon. HMPH. The third elder snorted coldly. Being so submissive, he will feel that we old people are easy to bully. I've seen this kind of person a lot. If you just give him a big stick, he will be honest. Asterisk. 5 elders have different attitudes, talking to each other about how to deal with Monk, the latest rising young man. And at this moment, the CP spy captain on the opposite side interrupted the dispute between 5 elders and the others, and said, several elders. There is one other very important thing, that kid Monk seems to know something important. The words of the CP spy captain made the elders of the 5 elders stop arguing. The great elder, who had never been involved in the dispute, said slowly, what extraordinary things does that brat know? Explain. I don't know the specifics. Anyway, that brat said that the world government deceived Marine and others, and the world. The words of the CP intelligence captain made the room of power suddenly silent. Several 5 elders looked at each other in surprise, and their expressions were very exciting. What does that brat know? Asterisk. Advertisement. Chapter 151 The World Government's Attitude. Advertisement. After the CPO captain reported what Monk said to 5 elders and others, this made 5 elders and others very concerned. What does Monk know? Why would he say that the world government is deceiving the world? This made 5 elders and others have a vague guess, but after they looked at each other, they felt that this was impossible. Does he know that the real ruler behind the world government is actually I am? Or maybe Monk knows about the Celestial Dragon's national treasure. But only the Celestial Dragons and the 5 elders will know everything. How could this newcomer who has just risen know these secrets? After pondering for a moment, the great elder opened his mouth and said, then how about the task entrusted to you? When will Monk come between the rights? Monk himself refused, the CP intelligence captain said helplessly. Presumptuous. The second elder became restless. The order given to him by the world government, this guy Monk actually refused. Where did they put the face of their world government? The first elder appeased the second elder, and calmly asked the CPO captain, is there a follow-up? What about Sengoku's attitude? Sengoku said he would definitely bring Monk to power tomorrow. Hearing that Sengoku said that he would bring Monk to the power room tomorrow, the great elder frowned slightly. Understood. Let's do this first. You come back first, and the rest will be discussed when Monk arrives tomorrow. But the great elder, the CPO captain wanted to continue, but was interrupted by the great elder. It's decided like this, there is no need to say anything. Seeing what the great elder said, the CPO captain couldn't continue to say anything, he could only follow the great elder's decision. For the great elder, since Sengoku promised to bring Monk to the power room tomorrow, it must be done. As the Marine Marshal for so many years, the great elder still trusts Sengoku very much. After the phone bug hung up, the elders around went to the real topic. The third elder pinned the first-generation ghost he had just wiped on his waist, and said in a low voice, it seems that Monk has a grudge against the world government. As Sengoku's nephew, he has such an attitude towards the world government, and I don't know how that fellow Sengoku paid him. Apparently, the elder was also somewhat displeased with Sengoku. There is no way to do this kind of thing, don't you look at Garp, the fourth elder said. He helped the world government defeat the Rock's pirate, but the offspring he cultivated also became pirates. The second elder snorted coldly, obviously he was very dissatisfied with Garp, he said in a cold tone. Garp is also a guy who does his own way, if he is not a Marine hero and quite influential in Marine, he must be held accountable. Quote. There is no need to keep repeating such words, the great elder interrupted. We should think about how to treat Monk when Sengoku brings Monk tomorrow. Now we not only need to pay attention to Monk's fishing ability, but also to know what Monk really knows. Once he really knows the secrets of the world government, we will consider other means. And just after the Great Elder finished speaking, a person wearing a nun's costume slowly walked into the room of power. The moment they saw this nun, all the 5 elders present shut up, with surprise in their eyes. The Great Elder quickly looked around, and said to the guards in the right room, "You guys get out first. These people wearing nun-like costumes are servants around IM, and since they came here, it shows that this is an order from IM." After the guards all retreated, the servant next to IM said calmly, "Elders, IM summoned you to a meeting." The 5 elders looked at each other, and the Great Elder respectfully said, "Understood, let's go to Pangu City." The maid didn't say anything anymore, since the 5 elders had said it, there was no need to say anything more. The sky outside has been dyed with night, and it is full of stars, which is quite beautiful. The singing and dancing in the Golden City was peaceful at this time, and Monk didn't seem to care about going to the Holy Land Mariajoy tomorrow. "Everyone, I will sing, Sunny Day, for you." On the huge stage, Monk shouted to the audience with a microphone. Below, Momosugi and Hina crazily shouted for Monk like crazy fans. Advertisement. Many people were surprised that Monk sang this pair of Sunny Days. Because it's so nice, it's not a cover, but the original song by Monk, which is amazing. Tesoro sat on the VIP seat, staring at Monk with wide eyes full of astonishment. Apart from his preference for Styler, the Golden Emperor's dream is to become a big star, but although he can realize his dream in the Golden City, he has his own stage. But the reason why the people in the audience will cheer for him is most likely because of his identity and status, as well as his money. So others are willing to cheer for him. But now Monk is the same as him, and even has a higher status than him. After all, after the Summit War, Monk has become famous all over the world. The cheers at the scene were not because of Monk's identity and status, but because his singing was really good, and the song, Sunny Day, overwhelmed the audience. This song is even better than the popular singer Yuta's singing voice, which means that even if Monk doesn't have the achievements he has today, he can still become a big star. Tesoro sat there, dazed. On the side, Mr. Tanaka recovered from the singing and saw that his boss was absent-minded. His big head couldn't help showing surprise. "What's the matter, boss?" Tesoro shook his head and smiled wryly. "No, I just feel that people are better than others, which makes me mad. Why are there people in this world who are extremely good in all fields? It's unreasonable." On the stage, Monk doesn't know Tesoro's thoughts on him. After a sunny day, it is, Compendium of Materia Medica, directly ignites the audience. The entire Golden City basically came to see Monk's performance. Garp was also in the auditorium. He swayed to the rhythm and said, "Ha ha ha ha, my godson is amazing." On the side, Sengoku looked at Monk who led the audience to dance, and was also dumbfounded. He can't remember when this guy Monk will write again, and if he writes, it's still such a good song. But what Sengoku couldn't understand was, who is Watwo? "Do you know him, Garp?" Garp was still dancing, but he was taken aback after listening to it. "Hey. If you don't tell me, I really haven't thought about it carefully. Who is Watwo?" He touched his chin as he spoke. "Also, there are Nuxani seeds, cassia seeds, cocklebur seeds, and lotus seeds. What are these things?" Both Sengoku and Garp looked at each other, neither understanding who the thing in Monk's lyrics was referring to. The singing continued until late at night. Monk and the others were still in high spirits, and the 5 elders had just come out of Pangu City. The 5 elders walked on the street illuminated by street lamps, all of them silent. After a while, the great elder said calmly, "You all should understand what Lord I Am means, right?" The elders beside him nodded, expressing that they and others understood what Lord I Am meant. "Tomorrow will depend on Monk's attitude, as long as he is willing to accept our conditions, then turn a blind eye and close one eye, and bind him forever in the Holy Land Mariajoy. If you don't want to, then we will suppress it by force." At the beginning, the elder was still thinking about how to treat Monk better, but now there is no need to think about it. I Am has already given a clear answer. If Monk is willing to become celestial dragons, and never step out of the Holy Land of Mariajoy, even if he wants to go out, he needs to accept the constant supervision of the world government, then the world government will not use force. If Monk refuses, it will be suppressed by force. But before the face is ripped off, the world government will conduct a fishing trip. This time, I Am personally planned it, and the world government directly took out 200 billion Baileys, waiting for the arrival of Monk tomorrow for fishing. If Monk really refuses, their world government also has magical items that can be used. Should I inform Kong to let him lead several admirals in the army and air force? The 5th elder asked. There is also CP spying. This kind of combat power is comparable to Buster Call several times. With the addition of us old guys, it is enough. As the commander-in-chief of the 3 armies, Kong controls the 3 armies of the sea, land and air. The Marine has 3 admirals, and the other 2 major military agencies also have their own admirals. The army has to prevent the possible counterattack of the Revolutionary Army recently. The strength of the Air Force is already weak, and the strength of Admiral is not strong. It is useless to come, the elder said lightly. With us here, plus CP Spy and Kong are enough. It's just a kid, and besides, I don't know if I will do anything. On the night street, the voices of 5 elders and others soon faded away as the figures disappeared. Advertisement. The Holy Land of Mariajoy is about to usher in the dawn of the 2nd day. Before dawn, another major event happened on the sea. The 4 emperors are in contact. Without anyone noticing, Whitebeard and Redhead, Kaido and Big Mom meet up on a hidden island. It seems that you also have the idea of cooperating, eh? Kaido smiled lowly. Quote dot. Backquote that's right, Whitebeard began. The current situation is very unfriendly to us pirates. If we continue to go our separate ways, it is very likely that Marine will use Monk's magical items to defeat them one by one. What's more, we need the magical items that you reproduce. The red hair also said the key point. The ant sneered, the magical item that needs to be reproduced requires money to buy, otherwise we will be at a loss. I don't have any opinion on this point, but I hope that the price you offer is reasonable, and don't make trouble before the cooperation begins. Whitebeard said. After this great war, the Whitebeard pirates and the red hair pirates suffered a lot of injuries, and they had to rely on magical items to heal them, even if they were replicas, as long as they were good for healing. However, at this moment, another voice suddenly sounded. The voice did not belong to any party, and the four emperors looked at the direction from which the voice came. Meanwhile, Whitebeard and Kaido are ready to make a move. However, the voice was unhurried, and said with a smile, "Every emperor of the sea, don't be so nervous. I'm here to give you benefits." A figure came out from the shadows. He was the Crow, one of the four commanders of the Revolutionary Army. This demon fruit power, which can turn its body into a crow, came nearby without the four sea emperors noticing. Your Revolutionary Army is really talented. People come forth in large numbers. I didn't expect you to be able to avoid our observation, Haki. The redhead couldn't help but speak. After seeing the Revolutionary Army, although the few people did not relax, the tension disappeared a lot just after arriving. At least not the enemy Marine. In the current situation, these pirates and the Revolutionary Army can be regarded as having a common enemy. It's just that you don't care about some small animals. The crow didn't show anything because of the red-haired compliment, and replied lightly. Just now the crow used his ability to transform into many crows, which made observation Haki of the four emperors not aware of his arrival. Stop talking nonsense. Kaido broke his mouth immediately. What did your Revolutionary Army send you over this time? Deal. Crow said concisely. Trade. This made the four emperors quite curious. That's right, our Revolutionary Army has reproduced Monk's magical item. If you are interested, we can reach a deal. Crow explained. Hearing the crow's words, Kaido and Big Mom couldn't help laughing out loud. You think it's only your Revolutionary Army that reproduced it? Kaido sneered. We've also reforged Monk's magic item. That's right, Ant agreed. You go back and tell the dragon that we don't need your Revolutionary Army's replica magical items. 11. It's too early to make money from our four emperors. The crow seemed to know that such a thing would happen, and there was no change in expression. Silently waited until Kaido and the ant finished laughing, and then continued to speak lightly. The magical items reproduced by our Revolutionary Army are the same. Our re-engraved fairy bean has an effect of 80%, and can heal a broken arm in one day. The holding capacity of the universal capsule has reached 90%. At the same time, there are arbitrary doors, lightning pills, and memory bread. Our Revolutionary Army has reproduced all of these. As for the specific effect, Joe can only be revealed after the two parties reach a cooperation. Crow's words made the smiles of Kaido and Auntie, the two four emperors, stiffen. Redhead and Whitebeard also showed surprise expressions and looked at each other. The four emperors never imagined that the Revolutionary Army would reproduce Monk's magical item to such an extent. How did they do it? Advertisement. Chapter 152 Meet the Five Elders. Advertisement. The four emperors were deeply surprised that the Revolutionary Army was able to reproduce Monk's magical item to such an extent. And even magical items such as lightning pill and any door can be reproduced. They remember that the Revolutionary Army didn't have any conflict with Marine, right? Since there was no conflict, how could the Revolutionary Army reproduce such things as lightning pills and arbitrary doors? Obtained from other channels. But Marine has very strict control over some relatively powerful magical items such as lightning pills. Even if their four emperors got these things, they also relied on great battles. A battle of the scale of Summit War is not something that can be started casually. If Marine wants to fight four emperors, he must get permission from his superiors before he can attack four emperors. Regarding the doubts of four emperors and others, Crow didn't say much. Naturally, he would not tell the four emperors that the Revolutionary Army secretly had a connection with Vegapunk, who was employed by the world government, and that these highly reproduced magical items were all from Vegapunk. But don't look at the replica as high as 70% to 90%, but most of them are elementary. For example, the celestial beans can only be engraved at the primary level, the intermediate celestial beans that can be revived, the advanced celestial beans, these magical items, Vegapunk has not been able to reproduce them until now. You must know that Vegapunk is the person who masters most of the knowledge in this world, and even the mysterious and special things like devil fruit can be reproduced, which is enough to prove the particularity of the magical items produced by the monk system. As for the re-engraving of any door, the restrictions are very large. The re-engraved arbitrary door has a distance limit, and it is very cumbersome to use it at the same time. It is said to be any door, but it actually looks like a complicated teleportation device, which cannot be as convenient as Monk. The Dianguang pill can't achieve the convenience of Monk's genuine version, and can't inject physical strength. Although it is said that the advanced knife technique can be injected into the user, it can't be instantly integrated into the original one. At the same time, the energy of the reprinted version of the lightning pill comes from the special energy source found by Isaac, and most of the combat power comes from this special energy source. That is to say, Monk's genuine Dianguang belongs to turning the user into a great swordsman with advanced sword skills. However, the reproduced Dianguang can only infuse people with advanced knowledge of saber techniques, which is equivalent to knowing this knowledge, but you have to rely on yourself to use it in battle. This is not as good as the original Dianguang. In addition, the re-engraved Dianguang uses external energy, and 473 is prone to situations where the battle is not over and the energy is used up, making the re-engraved Dianguang become an ordinary knife. The four emperors didn't mind that the crow didn't reveal too much. After all, every organization had its own secrets. If they got to the bottom of each other's secrets, it would be their four emperors' fault. The channels of your revolutionary army are beyond our imagination. Kaido laughed lowly. Then where are you going to trade? Ant asked. Since you are interested, then come with me, but only you 4 sea emperors, you are not allowed to bring any forces under your command. Crow said. Ah, the red-haired chuckled. He was interested in what the revolutionary army did. It means that your revolutionary army is sure that if our 4 emperors turn against us, you will be able to suppress us. The red hair said tentatively. Otherwise, the revolutionary army would not let the 4 emperors go together. Dare to do this now, which shows that the revolutionary army is confident. As expected of an organization that wants to overthrow the world government, its power is far beyond our imagination. The crow didn't bother with the 4 emperors, and said calmly, it's almost time to go. Although the situation is unstable recently, and the marine and world government have loosened their management, but the 4 emperors are gathered here, and they will be discovered soon. The 4 emperors didn't say anything more, and followed the crow to make a deal. In today's sea, due to the loss of the combat power of both marine and 4 emperors after the war, those pirates who were usually a little bit strong but suppressed began to become active, and New World began to become chaotic. At the same time, the Blackbeard pirates are also extremely active. Blackbeard has the dark fruit in hand, and also got the Momo fruit, which greatly increases its strength. In addition, there are 2 powerful foreign aides, Bullet and Red Earl. The Blackbeard pirate group started to set off for the hive, intending to snatch it down, which means that Blackbeard intends to start a war with Akoku. Time flies, and the next day is very fast. In the middle of the day, the 5 elders got up early in the morning and waited for Sengoku to come with Monk. At the same time, around the Holy Land Mariajoy, 10,000 elite soldiers were ready to go. Among them, the commander-in-chief Kong personally led the order, and the CP spy agents also dispatched a group of elites. It can be said that the combat power on the scene is more than enough to suppress Baffa of 4 emperors. Kong himself is a super emperor figure, and the Red Earl was imprisoned in the submarine prison because of Kong's attack. As for the elders of the 5 elders, from their previous words, it can be seen that the strength of these old guys is not simple. But everyone was ready to go and waited until the sun was high in the sky, but they didn't wait for Sengoku to bring Monk, which made the 5 elders impatient. What's the matter with Sengoku? Why haven't you brought Monk to the Holy Land yet? The 3rd elder asked loudly. This elder who wears a kimono and often holds the 1st generation ghost has a hot temper. Advertisement. The CP spy captain was a little embarrassed, he hesitated and said, everyone, elders, Sengoku called and said. East. The CP spy captain talked for a long time, but didn't speak. This made the 3rd elder even more displeased. What did Sengoku say? Monk had a concert last night until midnight, and he didn't wake up until half an hour ago. I guess, if you count the distance, it will take more than an hour to get here. Concert. After the 3rd elder heard the words, his eyes under the round-rimmed glasses widened, and his chest heaved violently. It's such an important matter. Then, that guy still holds a concert. Now even the 4th elder and the 5th elder who took soft measures at the beginning were displeased. Dissatisfied with Monk's attitude. That kid is really arrogant. We should teach him a good lesson later, or else we are really easy to bully. But complaints are complaints, and the elders have nothing to do, they can only wait. About 10 minutes later, the 5 elders in the power room started to get up, and suddenly a golden light suddenly appeared in the power room. The originally clean and dignified room was dyed a piece of golden yellow. This made the 5 elders who were playing chess stunned, and they all looked at the place where the golden color suddenly appeared in astonishment. What happened? 5th elder asked in surprise. The golden flash. The CPO captain who was present seemed to realize something, and then he said loudly. This is Monk's golden arbitrary door. During the summit war, there was such a golden flash. Quick, increase the number of staff. For a while, CP spy agents began to increase in the power, and surrounded the place that exudes golden light. Golden arbitrary door. Quote. The 5 elders and the others shrank their deep eyes, looking at the golden flash, their foreheads were dripping with sweat. When they were on the top before, 5 elders naturally watched the live broadcast. But seeing the appearance of the golden arbitrary door with my own eyes is completely different from what I saw on the screen. The golden light is so dazzling and radiant. The shape of any door appeared, and soon as the door opened, a figure appeared in the golden light. It was Sengoku who came to he ran first, but at this time Sengoku had a helpless face. No way, Monk's way of appearing on the stage is really too high profile, and the high profile made Sengoku a little embarrassed. You must know that what you are meeting now is your immediate superior. Is it appropriate to be so high profile in front of your immediate superior? Originally Sengoku refused, even if using any door to appear outside the right room, it would be better than appearing directly inside the right room. But Monk doesn't care about this at all, saying don't keep the 5 elders waiting. In short, at this time, Sengoku's face was a bit embarrassed. Followed by Monk, who steps through any door. Seeing Sengoku and Monk appear, the third elder couldn't help but snorted coldly. He also ignored that the two hadn't come to the front, and said coldly, "If there is no report between the rights, you can enter casually, let alone use the magical item directly." Sengoku, as the Marine Marshal, don't you understand this simple truth? Sengoku came in front of 5 elders and was about to speak, but was interrupted by Monk, who spoke first. I saw Monk approaching from behind Sengoku, and said with a smile, "5 elders, I am afraid that you will wait anxiously. I'm here to see you soon." Monk made a look that he was very eager to see the 5 elders soon. Seeing Monk's look, the 5 got up. Those who didn't know thought that Monk really wanted to see them sooner, but if he really wanted to meet them sooner, wouldn't he get up earlier? Even if you get up early, even if you don't use any door, you've already met for several hours by now, right? Advertisement. The third elder touched his bald head, and said coldly, "A person who was able to hold a concert until midnight last night, now talking about this, really thinks we are fools." Yo. Monk showed a surprised expression. I didn't expect the elders to know what happened to me last night. Sure enough, nothing can escape the eyes of the elders. But I did it to express the excitement that several elders invited me to come to this room of power. You must know that this is the room of power, the center of the highest power in this world. What a great honor it is for me to be here. Even my uncle, the Marine, can't easily come here. There are only a few people in this world who can come here, right? For example, a strong 4 emperors like Redhead. Originally 5 elders listened to Monk's flattery, although they knew that he was faking it, but they were very satisfied. After all, everyone likes rainbow farts. But as Monk talked, he felt something was wrong. What did Monk just say? The Redhead comes between the powers. Why does this guy know about Redhead's secret contact with the world government? Monk. The second elder stopped coldly. What nonsense are you talking about? As a new world pirate, the Redhead is the enemy of the world government, the object of erasure. How could he come here? The faces of the great elder, the third elder and other elders were all ugly. Surrounded by Monk's words, CP spy agents and others, as well as Sengoku's faces were all stunned. What did Monk say just now? Redheads come between powers. What the hell is going on? As the 4 emperors of the new world, how did the Redhead come to power? He is the enemy of Marine, the world political. The enemy of the government, one of the great forces that endanger this world. However, the CP agents were not too skeptical, thinking that it was just Monk talking nonsense. How could the world government have an affair with the 4 emperors? It was too late to kill them. Sengoku was noncommittal. After all, Monk is also his nephew, and Monk seems to know many secrets of this world. Although Sengoku doesn't know how Monk knew the information, judging from the previous incidents, there is a high probability that what Monk said is true. This caused waves in Sengoku's heart, and he was slightly moved. He suddenly discovered that he, the Marine Marshal, was considered a high-level figure in this world, but he seemed to be unaware of many secrets. The world government is not as reliable as he imagined, and there are many dark things that he doesn't know. Monk didn't show any expression when the 5 elders stopped him. He wasn't angry or afraid, but just smiled faintly. He chuckled lightly and said, "I'm not lying. A liar will swallow 1,000 needles." Monk made a joke, which stunned 5 elders and others. "Monk, you don't have a single normal word." The great elder also spoke. The supreme elder spoke, but the situation was completely different. Sengoku came back to his senses, and quickly told his nephew to stop talking. It's a place of power here, and the way things are going, the relationship between Monk and the 5 elders is going to be pretty bad. However, Monk didn't care about this. When he stepped out of any door and saw countless CP0 agents appear because of the door, he knew the attitude of the world government towards him. Then he also used observation Haki to check the outside world, and sure enough, there were many soldiers. This let Monk understand that the world government has made arrangements for him. This made Monk very upset. His original attitude towards 5 elders depended on the attitude of 5 elders towards him, but now he has made deployments for him, which means that he can do it anytime, anywhere. Can use force against him. Since the world government has such an attitude, don't blame him for being rude. The current Monk doesn't even think about giving the world government any face. Advertisement. Chapter 153 Sengoku. Is my nephew a born superior? Advertisement. Monk is already clear about the attitude of the world government towards him. If this is the case, his attitude towards the world government does not need to be too good, and he will not give the world government face. But soon Monk considered that he would go fishing in the artificial lake outside Pangu City later, and it seemed that he could not make a fuss now. If it is too tough now and causes conflicts between the two sides, I am afraid that the fishing business will be ruined. Monk didn't want that. On the 5 elders' side, the second elder, the third elder and their 2 fourth and 5th elders all began to feel angry with Monk. But soon, he was stopped by the elder, because he also thought about relying on Monk for fishing later. Lord I am prepared 200 billion Baileys last night. Once the two sides immediately use force, it is very likely that fishing will not be possible. This is what the elders don't want to see. The great elders' dissuasion and the other elders also remembered that they still needed Monk for fishing, so they couldn't help suppressing their anger. For a moment, the miraculous atmosphere on both sides actually eased up. This made Sengoku, who was about to persuade Sengoku, stunned by the already easing. What happened? Why did the smell of gunpowder between the two sides suddenly go out? Although he didn't know exactly what was going on, but the easing of the atmosphere was a good thing for Sengoku, which he hoped to see. I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. On the five elders' side, the great elder decided to speak up by himself from now on. The second and third sons are too irritable and easily lead to conflicts between the two sides. The fourth and fifth elders have limited negotiating ability and are easily fooled by Monk. Although Monk is a young man, to the old guys like five elders, he is a kid who hasn't grown his hair yet. However, the great elder could tell from the brief contact that Monk spoke in a different way and was very good at speaking. The fourth elder and the fifth elder may not really be able to speak well of this kid, I'm afraid they will be fooled for a moment. So the great elder plans to speak for himself next. He said slowly, Monk, please think twice about some words. Although you didn't join the army, you are not considered a member of the Marine, but you are still employed by the Marine with the salary of the Marine, not to mention that your uncle is the supreme commander of the Marine. The world government can be said to be one of your own. The great elder began to get closer to Monk, defining both parties as his own. Monk still had a faint smile on his face, and he didn't continue to say anything, as if he had listened. In fact, he began to think in his mind, since Sengoku said that they are all his own people, can he go fishing in the man-made lake of Pengu City with some oily man at about the same time? Thinking of this, Monk stopped talking and just listened silently to the great elder's continuation. The great elder couldn't help but be overjoyed to see that Monk was no longer as aggressive as he was at the beginning. It looked like Monk was listening. Hey, no matter how precocious you are still a brat after all, with little experience, as long as you speak kindly and get closer, you can ease the attitude of the other party. That's right, Monk. The great elder began to ignore Sengoku and talk to Monk directly, giving him enough status and face. Where's One Piece? The great elder asked. Sengoku on the side also felt the five elders' neglect of him. This kind of thing was not asked about him, the Marine Marshal, but about the junior monk. However, he was a strict and rule-abiding person, and he was dissatisfied and didn't say anything. Besides, he himself is about to hand over the mantle to Monk and let him become the Marshal of the Marine. He is happy to see the development of the matter. Monk felt awkward about the word slave, but because he wanted to go fishing, he didn't bother with it. He chuckled and said, it's in the back. Everyone come in. Everyone who heard what Monk said, the five elders were stunned for a moment, and then they felt a bad feeling in their hearts. I saw a figure appearing in any door that was still shining with golden light. He ran was the One Piece, Roger. The appearance of Roger made all the CP spy agents on the scene dignified, holding the weapons in their hands even tighter. One Piece, Roger, even after more than 10 years, this name is still full of shocking power. Even the five elders, who sat in high positions and had experienced turbulent waves, held their breath the moment they saw Roger appear with their own eyes. Advertisement. The eyes of several lousies flickered, and they stared straight at Roger who was walking in. The former, One Piece, really appeared in front of them all. The golden arbitrary door is like a passage of time and space, making five elders and others feel a little dazed for a while, as if they have returned to more than 10 years ago. When Roger was still alive in this world. This is the power of Monk's magical item. Let a person who has been dead for nearly 20 years appear alive in front of himself and others. Five elders and others looked at each other, and they all saw the strangeness and surprise in each other's eyes. Ha 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 ha. Roger stepped out, laughing immediately. Showing his iconic smile. This smile once stood on top of the world, but now this smile belongs to Monk's servant. Wow ha ha ha. I really never thought that one day I, Roger, would also be able to step into the center of power in this world. Master. Roger looked at Monk. Then he gave him a big thumbs up and said, you are really amazing. Only you can do this. Monk touched his nose and lifted his chin to accept Roger's praise. He was not humble at all in front of his servant. After Roger appeared, Zephyr, Momosuke, and Hina followed. The three stepped into the room of power, but Zephyr was quite calm. As the former Marine Admiral, although he came to the room of power once infrequently, the latter two beauties were different. They have been Marines for so many years, and this is the first time they have come to this place of power, and it is the first time they have seen the place that holds the center of world power. The two looked curious and kept looking at the scene. This is the rumored center of power. Momosuke and Hina were quite excited and looked at each other. They never thought that the two of them would be able to step here one day, and all the changes in their fate came from the monk in front of them. Crane once said that following Monk, their lives will be different, and now it is really different, just as Granny Crane said. Before, all they could get access to was some news from Marine's side. Momosuke, the admiral candidate, was better, at least able to know more, while Hina was just a rear admiral, who knew too little. However, now they seem to have begun to touch the high-level news of this world. Zephyr, Momosuke and Hina walked out, followed by S Big Mom and S Snake. The two blazing angels were expressionless, looking happy and angry. The two of them are man-made humans, their personalities are not yet complete, and they don't think about things at all. Even if the two of them are stepping into the highest power center in the world, the same is true, and there is no disturbance in their hearts. For the two seraphs, they just need to obey Monk's orders, and let him care about other things. How many people are there after Seraphim, since it is, Golden Emperor, Tesoro? The world's richest man, who was once extremely pompous, is now cowering to the extreme, without any arrogance like before. Why did Nima herself suddenly come here inexplicably? He doesn't want to get involved in the high-level affairs of this world at all. It's inexplicable because Monk touched the high-level things in this world. You must know that once it involves high-level things, a careless person may be obliterated because of hearing some secrets that should not be heard. Although it is said that he is the richest man in the world and has given the world government a lot of taxes, the world government really wants to kill him, easily. His previous jumping was based on the fact that it did not touch the interests of the world government. In short, Tezzolo was very hesitant, but he had no choice. First, Monk asked him to come, and he had to obey, and second, he really wanted to revive Styles. Not to mention Mr. Tanaka and the female assistant with the lucky fruit ability, the two of them at this time can't wait to find a crack in the ground to get in. The former has similar abilities, but if they use their abilities indiscriminately among these powers, they may be blocked directly. There are many CP intelligence agents on the scene. As everyone came out of the random door one after another, the light of the golden random door also shrank, and at the same time it suddenly disappeared. No, gone. Where is this golden arbitrary door? Zero looking for flowers. Many CP intelligence agents around were surprised why the random door suddenly disappeared. The CP spy captain glanced at the talking CP spy agents, and said coldly, "Shut up." Nothing surprising, it's also Monk's magic item. Advertisement. As the spy agency directly under the world government, it is natural to know all the information about Monk's magical items. The five elders are no exception, and they also have first-hand knowledge of Monk's magical items. So I understand that the sudden disappearance of the golden arbitrary door is because of Monk's magical item, the high-level open black lens bracket universal capsule close black lens bracket. Five elders ignored the disappearance of any door, but frowned and looked at the people who came out of any door. The third elder, the bald man, said again in a low voice, with an unhappy tone, "This is a room of power, wouldn't it be good to let these insignificant people in?" The fifth elder also nodded in agreement. Although his personality is a little more easygoing, he is still a little uncomfortable with these, ant-like characters appearing among the powers. Indeed, but for the sake of the face of Monk's subordinates, no punishment will be given. Let them leave here now, just go outside and wait. Seeing what the fifth elder said, the CP spy captain immediately asked several agents to carry out the order. Monk, however, wouldn't let the agents touch his men. He glanced at the agents who came forward, and just a glance at several agents was too frightened to move. Everyone's face was full of astonishment, cold sweat kept coming out, and they almost fainted. Zero. Are you kidding me about Conqueror's Haki at Musou level? And with the improvement, the current monk does not need special outbreaks, and can use Conqueror's Haki with his own ideas. Now blending into one's own line of sight is one of the operations. The CP spy captain couldn't help but frowned, and said coldly, "Monk, what do you mean?" It wasn't his home game in Marine before, so he wasn't too aggressive. And now here is Saint Mariajoy, right between his home ground. If Monk dares to be presumptuous here, he won't let it go easily. Do you dare to threaten CP intelligence between rights? Monk sneered, as a dog, then. Stay aside, don't bark like a horse. Quote. Your master just said it casually and didn't make a final decision, so your dog made the decision for the master. Monk. The CP spy captain's voice became sharp because of his anger. What? Monk cast a glance at the CP spy captain. Believe it or not, if I kill you, I'm fine. Monk was just thinking about what to look for to stand up and show his tough attitude. It happened that the CP spy captain jumped up, so he wouldn't let go. It is one thing for the elders to get closer, but Monk also needs to find a place to show his prestige, so that the five elders can understand their attitudes in their hearts, so that they can think about changing some attitudes. Okay. The great elder interrupted immediately. It's just a few people. There are no such rules among the powers. They are Monk's people, that's all. Let them stay. The corners of Monk's mouth are drawn secretly. This is what he wants to achieve, to let five elders see his attitude, but make appropriate concessions. On the side, Sengoku, the Marine Marshal, was silent from beginning to end. He took a deep look at his nephew, and to be honest, he never thought that Monk was so bold, and at the same time he was so good at handling things. Just like when Monk didn't intentionally burst into Conqueror's Haki just now, he just used his eyes to force the CP spy agent to hear about it, which is already giving five elders another's face. As the resourceful general, of course he can clearly see what Monk is doing just now, for the purpose of standing up, to let the five elders see some of his attitude invisibly, so that the five elders. Lao Xing changed his attitude towards Monk without losing face. Nima, could this kid be a born superior? Sengoku was taken aback. But he was surprised. His observation Haki also sensed the presence of many army soldiers from the outside world and the Commander Kong. This situation is not good, which means that five elders already intends to use force. For a while Sengoku became a little apprehensive, he couldn't predict what the next development would be. Just hope Monk doesn't spark an armed conflict. 4. Advertisement. Chapter 154. Whoring 100 billion Baileys for nothing. Cool. Advertisement. The current Sengoku can no longer restrain Monk in some respects. To be honest, if it wasn't because he was Monk's uncle, Sengoku felt that Monk didn't give him so much face at all. Can he still shout at Monk? Monk must educate him with a Conqueror's Haki directly. But Sengoku is not too afraid of Monk's Conqueror's Haki. After all, he is now the #1 Marine, with 2 powerful devil fruits on his body. Although it is said that Haki color Haki attacks a person's willpower, but as Marine Marshal, Sengoku's willpower is also very strong, so Monk's Haki color does not have too much influence on a strong person like him. As for why the Golden Lion was vomited blood by Monk Town, the main reason is that the Golden Lion is not as strong as before. If people like Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom are replaced, at most they will be blown away, and they will not vomit blood directly like the Golden Lion. Inner. This is also the reason why Monk didn't use Conqueror's Haki frequently when he was on the top. 1 or 2 times can still deter people. Once the number of times is too high and the enemy gets used to it, the deterrent effect of Monk's Conqueror's Haki will weaken. The Great Elder asked Zephyr, Momosuge, Hina, the 2 Seraphs, Tesoro and others to stay. This made the CP spy captain's face as uncomfortable as eating shit. He didn't expect that the Great Elder would give Monk such humility. This place is between power and the territory of the world government. Is it really okay to let Monk mess around here? If this continues, this boy Monk will definitely kick his nose and face. But since the Great Elder has spoken, he, the CPO captain, can't say anything. Although he himself and others will not admit it, but the 730 is indeed a group of dogs raised by the world government. After the Great Elder said to let his subordinates stay in the power zone, Monk couldn't help but smile, looking very harmless to humans and animals. The Great Elder really has a big heart, and he can hold a boat in his chest. It was the first time I heard of the Great Elder describing it like this, and I felt a little awkward in my heart. Looking at Monk's innocent smile that day, now the Great Elder doesn't believe it at all. This kid is so old. As a person sitting in this position, the Great Elder naturally saw Monk's operation just now, and he also saw clearly what Monk wanted to do. It has to be said that his own impression of Monk just now was too simplistic. The kid in front of him couldn't be treated as a kid at all, but he had to be regarded as an old guy. As for those people under Monk's command staying in the power room, even though the Great Elder is quite unhappy in his heart. After all, this is the center of power in today's world. How could it be that Zephyr, Hina, Leaping Rabbit, etc. these people came in casually? However, considering that Monk will be allowed to fish later, the Great Elder relaxed his request. The Great Elder forced himself to show a kind smile. I have to say that it is time for Monk and the Great Elder to show off their acting skills to each other. After all, we are all our own people. The old man has repeatedly emphasized before, it is not a joke. As if afraid of Monk's opening, the Great Elder didn't pause at all, and said, let's talk about the business next. Monk, about Roger. Seeing that the First Elder wanted to talk about Roger, Monk didn't hesitate at all, and immediately said, Roger is mine, and First Elder, you just said that we are our own. So if this is the case, does it mean that Roger is also one of us? Since everyone is their own person, what do you want Roger to do? Monk spoke without hesitation at all, and there are 3 words in every sentence, that is, one of us. This made the Great Elder speechless for a while. He couldn't help turning his head and glanced at the other elders beside him, and the other elders also looked at each other, choking on Monk's words for a moment. It seems that what Monk said makes sense. Since they and Monk are their own people, and Roger is also Monk's people, doesn't it mean that Roger is also their own people? Now that everyone is their own, what else can the 5 elders do with Roger? Seems like something went wrong. However, in this case, the 3rd elder, who is unreasonable and has a bad temper, is still needed to speak. He said in a low tone, Monk, Roger is not one of us. He is the One Piece, Roger, the chief culprit who caused the world to enter the Age of Discovery. It can be said that because of his words before execution, people in this world fell into a quagmire. The corner of Monk's mouth couldn't help twitching. After being exposed to the rhetoric of these big figures, he understood a little bit. They will always put themselves on the side of justice in this world, and talk about things at the highest point of morality in this world. This is the so-called moral kidnapping advertisement. And in the face of this kind of moral kidnapping, the best way is simply to play tricks. Anyway, if there is no morality, then you will not be kidnapped. That Roger, the One Piece King, was executed by your world government, but now this Roger is my resurrection, and he is still mine. Ask Roger, what does he call me now? Roger smiled and said without any hesitation, Master. Monk waved his hand. See, the current Roger calls me Master, it's no longer the Roger of the past. Since the original crime has been punished, now. The 3rd elder interrupted Monk coldly, this kind of sin committed by the devil cannot be resolved with one death. It's not enough to die hundreds of times. Monk couldn't help frowning slightly. The 3rd elder, the bald man, in kimono, was the 5 elders he was most displeased with. It is equivalent to someone who is singing a bad face. Soon the person who sang the red face appeared. Hey. The Great Elder said in a drawn-out tone. 3rd brother, you are wrong. Actually, what Monk said is right, as long as you are on your own, things are actually easy to solve. As he said that, the Great Elder looked at Monk and said calmly, Monk, it's not that we don't trust you. It's just that you can't just say it in words, you need to prove it in action. As long as you join the Celestial Dragons and become a world noble, then we will truly become our own people. As for Roger, we will treat our own people kindly. Monk sniffed. He understood that the topic had come to this point, and there was basically nothing to talk about if he continued. Once Monk refuses, even the red face elder will not talk to Monk politely. Because the world government has been hiding a 100-year-old secret for more than 800 years. The appearance of the myriad world props from Monk's fishing may be an embellishment, which makes the world government's heart flutter, but it will never shake the world government's determination to hide the truth. After all, without Monk's Myriad Realms props, the world government would have nothing to lose. While the two parties were still polite, Monk felt that it was time to go fishing first. After the fishing is over, he can have no worries. The corner of Monk's mouth rose, and he said with a smile, "Become celestial dragons, can you move freely in this holy place?" As if he didn't expect Monk to answer like this, 5 elders and the others couldn't help but look at each other, and then the great elder said, "Yes, the Holy Land can act freely. Of course, there are also some places that are restricted areas, no matter which clan is allowed to enter, that is Pangu City. There were 20 kings there." Monk didn't want to listen to the history of the founding of the country, so he interrupted directly, "What about the man-made lake outside Pangu City?" This question once again stunned the great elder and the other 5 elders. They looked at each other again, not understanding why Monk asked such a question. "I always feel like talking to Monk, sometimes the topic jumps very fast. Why did you suddenly ask about the artificial lake outside Pangu City?" Confused, the great elder still opened his mouth and said, "There is no problem with the words there, but if you go deeper into Pangu City." "It's fine," Monk said immediately. "Now I want to go over there, and I hope the elders will take me there." Monk's words once again made the 5 elders silent for a long while. Going to the artificial lake, where to go and what to do. The great elder's deep eyes flickered slightly, as if he remembered something. According to the CP intelligence information, Monk has a specific fishing spot every day if he wants to fish. Now judging from Monk's performance, it is very likely that today's fishing place is the artificial lake in front of Pangu City. The third elder frowned and said, "Monk, we haven't finished talking about the matter between us. What do you mean by suddenly going to the artificial lake in Pangu City? Celestial Dragons has only 19 clans from 800 years ago to the present, and basically there will be no increase. Our world government makes an exception and invites you to become Celestial Dragons, which is already a big concession. 0 inches. Advertisement. What's your answer? Join or decline?" Monk continued to touch his nose. Originally, he wanted to end the topic and go fishing as soon as possible, but now it seemed that he couldn't escape. After pondering for a moment, Monk planned to directly refuse, and he was also prepared if the situation turned to a bad side. Before coming here, Monk has thought about all kinds of situations, so no matter what the situation is, he can accept it. And just when Monk was about to speak, suddenly there was a quarrel outside. Because the gate between the rights is closed, no one can see anything specific, and the sound insulation effect is also good, but many of the people present are strong, and observation Haki can perceive the quarrel happening outside. The third elder stood up immediately, and said coldly, "What's going on?" The CP spy captain quickly asked the agents to open the door to see what happened outside. "As soon as I opened the door, I saw many people outside, among them 3 admirals, Garp, and he, these high-level marine generals, appeared between the right and left. These marine executives wanted to go in, but were blocked by Kong and the army's generals and soldiers. Commander, let's go in and have a look. After all, I'm also a marine hero, so I can't go in with this status." Garp said with a loud voice. "Garp, don't mess around here." President Kong also had a headache for Garp. As a former comrade in arms, it is really hard to say anything. It can be said that the original Garp came from his hands. The arrival of the 3 admirals and the top generals of the marine was unexpected by everyone, not even Sengoku. At this time, Sengoku's face is black. Why are these guys here? Even Admiral is not able to casually step into the room of power. The only marine who is qualified to come here frequently is Martial Marine. Now the top 3 Admiral, Crane and Garp appear here, making things start to mess up. The faces of the 5 elders also became a little ugly. Seeing this sudden situation, the third elder gritted his teeth angrily. Everything is messed up. What are these marines doing here without their orders? Even Admiral cannot casually step into the Holy Land. Monk was also surprised that Marine's senior management arrived here, but the corners of his mouth were slightly outlined. Needless to say, these Marine executives will come here, most likely because of him and Sengoku. Before Monk had no sense of belonging to Marine, but now the top 3 Marine executives, Admiral, Garp, and Crane, have come to power for him, which has already made Monk feel good about them. Even if there is an armed conflict at that time, and these Marines do not take action, Monk will not do anything to Marines. After all, as a Marine, even the top management cannot help themselves. 2.0. The situation quickly eased under the elder's words. After all, Akainu, Aokiji, and Kizaru are the highest combat power in Marine, and they still have to give face, not to mention Garp, the Marine hero. It has to be said that the status of hero has given Garp a lot of convenience. Marine executives stepped into the power room and stood by Sengoku's side one after another, and Sengoku's side is also Monk's side in a sense. Vaguely, the 5 elders felt that this was a force capable of crushing the world government. The CP spy captain saw Monk's influence in the army before, and now 5 elders and others have also seen Monk's influence in the army. Can't keep Monk in Marine anymore. The great elder thought deeply. Once Monk's influence in the army continues to be allowed to expand, will the Marine still be one of the 3 major institutions under the world government? I'm afraid it will go out independently because of Monk. With a thought in his mind, the great elder had already figured out many things. He said calmly, "Monk, you went to the artificial lake for fishing, right?" No problem, it just happens to help our world government go fishing. We have prepared 200 billion Baileys. God-level fishing is required 10 times. Monk keenly caught the changed attitude of the Great Elder and helped them fish in the world government. It is obvious that the Great Elder has begun to draw boundaries with Monk. Hee. Monk didn't hesitate too much, and said with a smile, no problem. Great Elder. Of course there is no problem. 200 billion Baileys, he directly prostitutes 100 billion Baileys, what's the problem? There must be no problem, only cool. Advertisement.